Good evening, everybody. Hell, if I came off mute, I hope you are all keeping well. Welcome to the Black Lodge. I am David at Drinks Whiskey, guest hosting tonight's vPub. Hope you are keeping well. It's been a long old week. We're coming out the other end of it, thankfully. So I hope everybody's doing well, wherever you are in the world. I'm seeing the chat. There's lots of people in this evening. We've got some amazing guests ahead of us that have been so kind to lend me their time and give us some wisdom. Let me see who we've got in this evening. We've got Alan in, wishing luck. Thank you so much, Alan. Appreciate it. Just going to do a wee bit of housekeeping, get this going. We've got Pete Head in. We've got Lachlan. Evening, Lachlan. Tobias is in as well. Tim's in. Jim the Whiskey Novice is in. We've got Mac, who's joining us, Kanpai Planet. He's in the chat as well. Here's we got. We've got Billy's in the chat. I'm just trying to get my housekeeping sorted. Let's get some bits and pieces going. So yeah, welcome. Thank you. If you don't know who I am, I'm David. I'm at Drinks Whiskey. You're at my channel. Do stick around. Have a wee look at the content afterwards if you've came from the vPub with Roy, or if Billy sent you, or Mac, or Pete from Woven. It's an absolute pleasure to have you all here tonight. We've got a really fun night ahead. We've tried to do something a little bit different. I know that there's been some other guest hosts. Jeff did a great one, and there was one the other week about the kind of the historical elements. But this evening I thought we would go back to basics, and we would look at stuff from a beginner's point of view, and how do we get beginners in. Something that we all try to do. I think as whiskey kind of enthusiasts, and Roy evangelises and everybody in, and so I looked at it and I thought, what would be a great selection of people? And I thought, well, Kanpai Planet, Mac, he's evangelising Japanese whiskey everywhere he goes, and he's a content creator, so he comes at it from one angle. You've got Billy's coming at it from a different angle as a writer, a journalist, but also as a seller working for a retailer. And then you've got Pete, who's coming at it as a maker. So it's really quite exciting to be doing all these things with these people this evening and hearing their points of view. We'll get into it a wee bit later in the next 5-10 minutes, seeing who else is in the chat. We've got PX in. Great to have you, PX. Thomas is joining. Hells is in. Who else have we got? Rob's in. Hello, everyone. Hope you have something good in your glass. Please do let me know what's in your glass this evening, guys. I have a wee dram here to kick me off. And I'll reveal what it is sooner than later. It is one of the Thompson Brothers mystery malts. I don't know if you'll be able to see from the colour in the glass. I'll take your guess. It's from batch 2. So do feel free to guess in the chat. Petehead, evening all you barflies and other whiskey folk. Just opened the chat. We're still listening, watching Inverurie Blether on the other screen. Highly interesting subject tonight. Fantastic. Appreciate you being in, Frank. Kanpai, there's Mac in. Ted Brooks, evening all from Washington DC. 16-year-old SMWS Dalyoon in the glass tonight. Fantastic. Hope that's super waxy for you. Norrin Rad, hello everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Great to have you in. Codger's in. Evening all. Frank, Mac, and all you lovely people. Molasses, cheers everyone. Tony's in. Fantastic. So far, nobody's saying they're hearing any echoes or anything, but it's just me at the moment. For anybody that joins me, I do a fortnightly live stream most Saturdays, Saturday night drams, and we had a guest on, the wonderful Marcos, formerly of North Star Spirits, and it got to the point where it was called Echo Gate. We just had a lot of tech problems. We got there in the end, but we've stress tested everything this evening to try our best to make sure that doesn't happen. So if it does happen, it's tech gremlins. We have been very diligent in the background tonight, for sure. I'm just seeing what people are putting in. Norin, he's on some Lomond 18-year-old. Fantastic. Might get a mention this evening. Might not, who knows. Codger's on the Lockleaf Fallow for starters tonight. I think I've got a bottle of that unopened at the moment. Hells is on fresh bourbon, Hazelburn cage bottle. Oh, brilliant. Fantastic. I bet you that's delicious. John, welcome in. Frank's starting with an IB Glenmorangie. Now, Bunnahabin. One thing to say, even though I'm Scottish, I struggle with some of these pronunciations. So the Toki, Ada, maybe. The thing I've learned is I can't really ask the chat how to pronounce it unless you put it in phonetically. Alan, I had the pleasure of being asked about my whiskey hobby on a works night out last night, to then within seconds being told what a boring topic it was by another Allison in the group. A friend of my friend Jack, who, if you follow my channel and that, and you know me on socials and that, we went up to the Highlands just recently. He's American, and we were chatting about hobbies, and he was like, "It's great, you've got this whiskey hobby, and you're so passionate about it, and etc." And then he said it could be worse. It could be cycling. So I think at least you weren't talking about bikes. That's all I'm going to say, Alan. At least you weren't talking about bikes. Great, Jeffrey. I think Jeffrey was part of it. He's definitely seen some of the tech disasters that have been on this stream. Mike, great to see you. Thank you for coming this evening. And he's saying it's too early to drink here in California. It's never too early for a wee drink in California. Is it? Billy Glenmorangie, FTW. It's great. When I went up, it was on my list of places to visit, and I just never had the time. They do phenomenal handfuls, if I'm right. And Alan's on a rare fine 14-year-old Mannockmore. Julian, hi David and everyone. Evening everyone. Wireworks bourbon barrel in the glass. Belter. Absolute belter of a dram. I'm sure anybody that's came through the vPub knows how highly regarded Wireworks is in the community at the moment. If you've not tried it, definitely try it. The bourbon barrel is just, for me, they brought out a port one everyone was raving about, but that bourbon for me is just above and beyond. Amateur casuals in, evening all. Black Lodge twice in 5 days, the decadence of it, eh? Big Pete Sherry Storm edition, 2 in the glass for me tonight. Very nearly pulled that off the shelf for this evening, but I left it up there because I can't get it anymore. So for the theme of what we're doing, I thought we'd leave it a wee bit. Let me see. We also get Adrian's in. Great. So yeah, doing the introductions, getting everybody involved. Great to see so many of you in. We will jump into it. The plan for this evening is we have the challenge, and then we will also have, we'll hope to have it. We'll see how timing goes and see how the tech goes. Menno's been very kind and created a quiz for us, and he was going to try and present it, but trying to get the tech set up and share screens and all that. So I do have it on hand, so fingers crossed, if time-wise is forgiven, we do have a quiz at the end, which I've not looked at the questions, so I'll be taking part probably as much as you guys, though I won't say my answers out loud, for shame. But, as I said, tonight is about the ultimate whiskey beginner's set, and I'd asked some of my Patreons and stuff about it, and said, can you come prepared and help the chat? Basically, we want 4 bottles. There's 4 categories of it. The 4 categories are the OB banger, so a bottle that is an original bottling that you can pick up that is great for a newbie. The scenario of this person is they come to you and they go, you like whiskey, I've got £200, I want 4 bottles, I want an OB banger, I want a dram that you would love to come to my house and have if it was there, a drammer's dram. I want a supermarket sipper that's easily available in supermarkets or stores. I don't have to go specialist to. And then I want something weird, a wild card, weird and wonderful. And so that was the challenge I've put to the guests this evening. I've put to myself, I've put to you guys in the chat. Please do join in. And the format this evening is similar to most of the gamified formats. We're each going to pitch 60 seconds what we're picking and why. And then in the chat, you guys vote. And at the end of the four bottles, we would have created amongst us all what we would deem the ultimate newbie starter kit for £200. Now, that £200 is not £50 per bottle. It can be, you could splodge it all in a £100 bottle and leave yourself with £100 to backfill the other three, depending on your category. It can vary. You can leave yourself some money. So if you like a half and a half, you can buy some beers with it. That's the plan for it all. Now, fingers crossed, from a tech point of view, everything goes according to plan. If not, do bear with me. It's Roy makes this look very easy. Very easy. We were talking in the green room before this about just how he's like a swan. So if in doubt, we'll kick it out. But I'm just having a wee look at the chat, right? Petehead saying, and that's that. Look, it might happen, it might not happen. We might get there, we might get lucky. But if not, we don't know. But now, to the interesting part. What we want to do is, I'm going to bring the guests in so they're ready and waiting for everybody. Let me see. There we go. And there we go. That they should be in and good to go. And I'm going to introduce them. Give it 2 seconds. Here we go.
First up, he's your sensei of spirits from the sensational YouTube channel Kanpai Planet. Give a huge welcome to Mac. Next, he's a wordsmith of whiskey from the world-famous Whiskey Exchange, the one and only Billy Abbott. And finally, the master blender weaving liquid magic as a blender of woven whiskey. Let's hear it for Pete Allison. That's our panel. Let's get to the drams.
Hello, guys.
Well,
What was that?
that was quite shiny.
I'd warned them there was a surprise, but I didn't share that with any of them. So I hope you appreciated the high production values, and almost an homage to Jeff Whiskey in the colour palette. But welcome, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for having us. I mean, yeah, good to see you.
So we'll start to my right. We've got the wonderful Mac from Kanpai Planet. Mac, in the words of Silly Black, who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Kanpai Planet, or rather Aqua Vitae via Drinks Whiskey, I guess. So we're all gathered here tonight. I'm Mac, and I'm typically based in Tokyo, but actually tonight I'm coming to you from London. A bit of a sabbatical from the land of the rising sun. So I've been living in Japan for 19 years, and in February 2021, I started a Japan drinks content platform called Kanpai Planet. And here we are now, 4.5 years later, where I'm able to join this. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, David.
Brilliant to have you. Brilliant to have you on UK time as well, because you can have a dram with us as opposed to a cup of tea.
When Roy invited me to do a full vPub with him back in August 2021, yeah, the rest of the day was a bit of a write-off, let's just say that, as I got through this Japanese whiskey lineup basically from 6 till 8 a.m. But yeah, fondly remembered.
Well, thanks for joining us, Mac, and I'm sure we'll have a great night tonight. And then directly below me is the one and only Billy Abbott, as you would have heard.
Yep. Hello, my name's Billy. I'm a computer programmer who accidentally started writing about whiskey, and now 13 years later, I talk about booze, not only whiskey, but lots of other things, including whiskey. By day, I work for the Whiskey Exchange. I'm our head of education and our ambassador. So my job is to wander around telling people about booze, both inside the company and outside the company. And my hobby is booze, and I go around talking about booze and telling people about booze, running tastings, and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I don't program computers anymore because I'm now 13 years out of date, and seriously, trust me, my code was bad enough to start with. So yes, I'm sticking with the booze now. It's a lot easier, and it's better for everybody I've ever worked with on the IT side, sort of like stress levels. So yes. Cheers.
Well, cheers, Billy. Thanks for joining. It's absolute great for you to make the time. And then last but not least, we have Pete. Pete, how you doing?
Good, mate. Yeah, thank you very much for having me. This is really exciting. I feel a little bit out of my depth with these two legends, and three legends. I'll let you decide who I'm missing out there. But
yeah,
it's Billy. It's nice to be here. My name's Pete. I'm the whiskey maker for Woven. We're a small independent whiskey blenders in Edinburgh, and we blend pretty weird and wonderful combinations of whiskies, not just from Scotland but around the world.
I think you've been very modest there as well.
Very
modest. Your whiskey has not only been gathered from around the world; it's going around the world. It's making waves.
It's all right. It's good. Yeah, it's fun. Thank you.
You're doing well. You're doing well, to say the least. Well, guys, thank you all so much for joining me, giving up your evening as well. When I messaged a couple of you and I said about the timings as well, I appreciate that a 9:45 kickoff for most of us on a Thursday night is a little bit late in the day, so I do appreciate it. We have this challenge. I prepped you on it. I'm going to go back and remind everyone of the rules. We are starting with the OB Banger. I'm going to start with the OB Banger. So that is an original bottling that's readily available and basically your pick. And we're going to kick off. The first one up is going to be Mac.
It is. Okay. I'm a bit nervous actually to start this off, to be honest, because first of all, thanks everybody, and thanks David. I guess, when you approached me with this challenge, I did wonder, £200, that's not a lot of money. Should I stay on brand and focus on Japanese whiskey? And I think I can do it. I think I can win this lineup, focusing on that. So we're going to kick off with an OB banger, and that is Hakushu's Distiller's Reserve, which currently retails for £60 on Master of Malt. It has an ABV of 43%, absolutely fantastic range of tasting notes. The cliche is that it's like drinking a forest. A lot of the barrels are not aged actually in the Hakushu forest itself, but the whole thing has been constructed to basically evoke the wonderful kind of imagery of the Hakushu distillery, which is Japan's highest distillery. It's nestled in a mountain, Mount Kaikomakatake in the Southern Alps. And they use a number of different kind of lightly peated, all the way to heavily peated whiskies to create this wonderful like pine, smoky, herbaceous dram, which is absolutely fantastic. I have a real soft spot for it because this was the dram that truly got me into not just Japanese whiskey, but whiskey full stop. And for me, it's a no age statement done right. The average age of the dram is about 8 years old. And it's a proper, reasonable dram where the age-dated versions in this country cost insane amounts of money. I just saw that the Yamazaki 25 Mizunara cask, which is one of this year's special editions from Suntory, is priced at, I think, something insane like close to £10,000 sterling, which is absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, I think that's where I really want to push this. It's an absolute OB banger because while a lot of no age statement versions of drams are pale imitations of their age statements, I actually believe that's the case with the Yamazaki. So Suntory's first distillery, Hakushu's sister malt whiskey distillery. I think it's a really not great compared to the 12 and the 18 year. I think the Hakushu Distiller's Reserve is fantastic. I rest my case.
That was a great case. I'm just putting this comment up there from Petehead, which I think we all thought. A mental quiz question. What is the correct spelling of the mountain that Mac mentioned there?
That's a good question.
Can you say it one more time for everybody?
God, you've got me. You've got me now.
It was
Kaikomakatake.
Easy to say after a few drams, I'm sure.
Well, speaking of sort of whiskey tube, one of the videos I first made homage to Roy's classic How to Pronounce Scotch Whiskey was How to Pronounce Japanese Whiskey. And I've watched a lot of videos from some of our beloved fellow YouTubers around the world, and they clearly have not watched that video. So anyway, thanks, Peter.
Fantastic. Next up, we're heading to Billy, and it's your OB banger.
Right. Sorry, that's the mute button. So, I went through a whole pile of different whiskies for this, and I changed my mind at the last moment. And I've gone for Glenglassaugh Sandend for a couple of reasons. One, it's a whiskey that people don't really know and really should. And two, I was thinking when it comes to bangers and everything like that, most people are going to go for something a bit sort of punchy. So Max already pulled out a bit of peat. And the Sandend is the exact opposite of that. It's soft, it's gentle, it's floral, it's fruity. It's a style of whiskey you don't see so much anymore, but it is absolute classic and a sort of whiskey that I spend a lot of time trying to find and not being able to find. At a Whiskey Exchange, we do a Whiskey of the Year competition every year. And Sandend came second last year. And we sit there, me and Dawn Davis, our buyer, we try the whiskies before the competition starts. And we sort of go before the tasting where we decide it starts. And we go, what's showing really well tonight? And we tried it and we went, we've got a really good bunch of folks who are coming on. They spend their time. We've had folks coming along for the last decade coming to do this judging. And we're like, we really hope they like it. But it's a little bit light. Maybe it's not going to do well. And it absolutely stormed it and was only beaten in the end. Can't remember what beat it now. Sandend was the thing which really we sort of took out of the competition as being really great. Proper whiskey that people should know. And that comes from somebody who did not get on with Glenglassaugh at all until a couple of years ago. All the new stuff that came out, not a fan. Down to a running joke of a mini going back and forth between me and our shops. Me sending it down saying, here you go, here's some tasting stock. And I'm sending it back going, no, you taste it. We've tried it already. We don't want it. But no, really, really great whiskey. And Sandend, for me, is the one which really shows off what the future of Glenglassaugh might be.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Billy. Glenglassaugh. Didn't see that coming when you sent it through, because I got people to send them through so there was no duplicates, but did not see that coming. And I'm trying to create a poll as I'm listening to you guys and try to spell some of these. It's fun, so I'm just checking everything. But next up, we have Pete. Pete, what's your choice for an OB banger?
First, I hadn't realised that we were supposed to send them through, so I could go anywhere on this, couldn't I? You're not going to know.
Literally. You're going to be able to duck and weave. It's me that's going to have to pick up the pieces.
Right. So I was thinking about this today and thinking about how to sort of curate a 4 whiskey lineup for 200 quid that's gonna sort of tell the story of whiskey today. And I think when I was looking at the OB banger, I was thinking sort of about a few different distilleries, and I kind of landed on the whiskey that really sort of changed my opinion of what peat can be. And it's a Highland Park 12. For money, it's 38 quid, which is probably one of the best value whiskies on the market. I was going to go a little bit higher and look at a Bowmore 15 in the same sort of vein, but I think that sort of value, quality, and experience sort of matrix, Highland Park probably pips it. It's from Orkney, which is beautiful, remote, romantic. It's got that real coastal DNA, and then it's got the sort of the balance of smoke and honey and heather and all the right things, but then with that little bit of spice and sherry coming through as well, which is perfect. I think just in terms of the balance on its own, it's wonderful. But if you're a newbie into whiskey, then something like this won't be too dramatic if you're looking at smoke. I was looking at some of the Ardbegs. The reason why I didn't really pick an Ardbeg is I can't pronounce any of their names, so sorry about that. This is nice and easy at 12. But for under 40 quid, I think it's one of the best value whiskies from a distillery coming out of Scotland. So yeah, it's a Highland Park 12. And
we will discuss our 4 selections after the fourth one comes up. So we're not skipping over them. Don't worry, guys in the chat. Good choice. Really good choice. Oft overlooked as well at the moment, Highland Park. So then over to me. So I had to think about this, and there was a couple that really stood out in my head as like just remembering a few years back getting into whiskey, and I remember people saying, like, remember when I was posting on Instagram, people saying to me, "Oh, you're only buying OB bottles," and I'm like, "What's OB bottles? I don't know what that means." But this bottle stuck with me, and I only recently rebought it for the first time in about 3 years. And it kind of pipped it, and I opened it last night because it came yesterday, and I opened it last night and I tried it, and I thought, yep, this is my OB banger because it hooked me in. And it is the Glenmorangie 14 Quinta Ruban. It's £37 at the moment, which to me is unbelievable. It was very closely going to be the 12, formerly the 10, because I love that. That's my base dram. I love how that goes. But I find there's a jamminess to this that is unmistakable. Like, you just can't escape it. And it's a port, and it's a perfect mix of the bourbon and the port casks. And I think if you're wanting something that looks good and also at the moment has bloody Han Solo and Indiana Jones advertising it, you know, like, you can't go too wrong with that from a cool aspect. But as a dram, it stands up so well. And I was just recently, first time ever, up Sutherland Way, dropped into the distillery, just wandered about the grounds, didn't have time for a tour. It's a beautiful part of the world that's pulling out this stuff that, compared to others in that region of the world, there's something, there's a softness to it, but a welcoming softness. It's not a complex dram, but it can be if you want to be. You can sit with that and have time with it, or you can just mindlessly have a few drams of it and move on. And I picked it because of that sweetness, that inherent sweetness for a newbie that will draw them in. It's not a sherry bomb that can maybe put people off in some way because the tannins of that. But I just thought that, and that was the one, and that's part of the reason I bought it this week. It tipped me over the edge finally to buy it. That £37 plus to have it in this lineup. So that's my pick for this, and I'm going to start a poll in the chat. Hopefully, never done one of these before. And while the guys vote, while everybody votes, I think we just have a wee chat about our selections. Where should we start? I think maybe start with Pete's one first. The Highland Park 12. As I mentioned, Highland Park's went through a bit of a, I wouldn't say a rocky period, but they went through that whole Viking adventure, and they've pulled it back to a very clean cut look. And I think that Viking adventure might have put a wee bit of a mask in front of people's faces towards Highland Park for a while.
I guess, I mean, for me, like the Highland Park as a brand has always had a little bit of an identity crisis. I think sort of being where it is and where it's positioned in terms of, you know, peated and slightly Nordic in that it's an Orkney. You know, they always want to kind of do something a little bit different, and I think sometimes it may, well, the Viking stuff didn't really land particularly well in some markets, but then, you know, over in the Nordics it landed really well. So I guess that they did what they wanted to, which is cool. But for me, the actual liquid itself, and I think that specifically the 12, I think that the 18, which was my desert island dram for quite a few years, it went through a bit of a funny turn in terms of quality for a little bit, but the 12 has always just been absolutely outstanding in terms of its quality and consistency. So I think it's a perfect wee whiskey if you're looking to get into whiskey and looking to get into something a bit smoky but not going to be blowing your tits off. Then this is probably quite a good one. Sorry, or blowing your head off. Whatever you're allowed to say.
You're allowed to say whatever you want, Pete. Don't you worry.
All right.
Don't you worry.
Okay.
We're doing an alcohol chat. It's 18 plus.
It's quarter past 10. We're all adults now.
I've just seen
Right,
we've got
okay.
6, and we've also got 69 viewers, which is nice. It's live. It's all going on. It's all going on. Mac, from your point of view, looking at it, the selection, obviously you've picked a classic Japanese one, and it's very emotive for you as well. It's quite intriguing because obviously Scotch and Japanese whiskey is so tight. It's tightly linked. It's interwoven, the stories behind them. But what do you see in that market from a Scotch point of view? Do you see Highland Park still having, because it was a big dram across the world for a while. Do you still see it over there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you've ever come out to Tokyo, you'll know that the selection of Scotch that we have is absolutely incredible out there. I know me and Billy have shared some drams while out there, and it's absolutely insane. And not only do we have, the core ranges heavily represented there, but also we have a huge number of Japan exclusives as well of Scotch whiskey, which are heavily pushed. I see that the legend Michael Henry is in the chat, and the distributor of his work, are pushing, and we get a number of exclusive casks and bottles for the Japanese market. So yeah, things like Highland Park, Ardbeg has a huge cult following. Now, if you think that they're tough to pronounce in Gaelic or Scottish or English, then imagine trying to pronounce them in katakana, which is the way that the Japanese, they take their foreign words. And remember, English has, depending on which linguist you speak to, between 8,000 and 15,000 syllable sounds. Japanese has 200. So no comments about pronunciation from you guys. We've got a lot of problems over there trying to get any of their releases correct. Who else is, just whatever, and also a huge market for bourbon as well. So yes, anyway, a dram like a Highland Park 12 is hugely loved in Tokyo.
Billy, your selection, I think, might have caught a few people by surprise. Glenglassaugh?
Glenglassaugh is what I've always said, but I've heard about 17 different pronunciations. It is a Scottish distillery, so.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones that's kind of hiding in plain sight and overlooked a little bit, isn't it? Because it's not the fanciest. It's had that rebrand when it relaunched and stuff, but since then, as you said, it's been a wee bit of a rocky road.
I think they're closed at the moment as well. Sort of like temporary closure. The joys of all the production and fun we're having at the moment. But think of the other two. So Highland Park 12, Highland Park 18, as Pete was saying, has done this a little bit. Highland Park 12, I felt had a massive dip a few years ago and just lost it. But the guys at Highland Park re-examine what they're doing every now and again, look through their range, and the 12 is up there again. Great whiskey with this new rebrand. They've done some reformulation a little bit as well, so things are a little bit different to how they were. I quite like the Vikings. I like Vikings. Got Phantom. I played a lot of Assassin's Creed Valhalla during lockdown. A lot, like too much. So, but the Hakushu was second or third Japanese whiskey I tried, and showed me that different side, that side which is leaning more towards more traditional Scotch whiskey, sort of seeing the history of Japanese whiskey and how that sort of came out of Masataka Taketsuru's trips to Scotland, bringing back that knowledge and wanting to create that style of whiskey, and that not being what they started out doing. Hakushu is very much that reflection of those early days of Japanese whiskey through into modernity. And the Glenmorangie, I was looking through, and a bunch of Glenmorangies appeared on my list because it's such a solid distillery. And I was looking at the La Santa rather than the Quinta Ruban because I don't get on with Portcast a lot of the time. Quinta Ruban is a little bit batchy, so sometimes I get on with it, sometimes I just got to go. Rrr. But the reason I went for the Sandend is because, as you say, it's a little bit underloved. It's a distillery that, when they first launched, I said I had no time for it. Didn't like their spirit. I went up to visit, and almost everything I tried, I disliked. It was when they did those PX and heavy sherry and all those sort of like special releases, just when Rachel Barry started. But then I tried the new make spirit and the young spirit, and it was like 3, 4, 5 years old, and it's like, okay, give us a few more years. These guys know what they're doing now. The really old stuff they have was fantastic, and the stuff when they started was not great. But then they started getting better and better, understanding their distillery, leaning into that fruitiness, which is the reason why I love it. I don't necessarily like, was it the Port Soy, which I think is It's got some peat and maybe some port in there or something. I can't remember. The other ones I'm not a fan of so much. It's not my style. But for this young style of whiskey, bright, fruity, delightful, but also quite different. And that's what I was thinking for a newbie. Lots of newbie whiskey people don't realise the range. And this is at a different end where most people go with these sorts of bottlings. And so, yeah, really interesting. And if anybody out there hasn't tried it, recommend just grab a dram if you can. It's not expensive. It's quite nice.
Well, on that, the results are in, and I think your last gasp evangelising there. I don't know if it was close, to be fair. So we'll do reverse order. We have over 70 people in the chat. We're live at the moment. 43 voted. I assume some will be watching on TV and stuff as well. With 16% of the vote, Highland Park 12. Pete. Then with 18%, Mac, it was a Hakushu. Then it was myself with 25% of the vote, but with a storming 39%. It was 40% until the last second, and it went to 39%.
That's the perils of me talking more. You see, people just lose interest.
Honestly, Billy, I think you might have a job in selling whiskey to people through speaking about it. I think there might be something in that. I think you might do something well. It's been interesting seeing in the chat what people have been saying. I was just kind of putting them up as we were talking. Boona 10 came up. Or Boona 12 was Boona 12, Boona 10. Some people say Sugar Kitty was saying Glencadam 10 or Arran 10. Everybody, like Boona 12, yeah, that was it, Boona 12, Tomatul 10, and that. They've all got something in common, which they're all fair reflections of what the whiskey and the distillery is trying to do. And I think that's where it's coming from. The place that we're looking at is, if you're new to this, where's a good kick-off point? Where's something that you can get through a bottle? Oh, we've lost Billy. I think he's pressed the wrong button. So we'll see if we get him back in a second. There he is. Perfect. So yeah, guys, great seeing your opinion. Keep in the chat. Keep letting us know as we're going through. We're going to come on to the second option, which, as I said, I'll come back to this. I should have done a separate screen, but the Drammer's Dram. So the Drammer's Dram is pretty much a whiskey for everybody watching this just now. If you went to somebody's house and they pull out a dram, and I know Roy regales tales of going somewhere and trying something and being really surprised that it's maybe a lower value bottle or something like that, but if somebody was trying to impress you and they pulled out this bottle and you'd be a little bit shocked maybe, or a little bit of like, oh my God, why have you got that? What would you have? And so kicking this one off first is Billy. You may take the floor here.
Okay, I went for something a bit safe-ish, but it's a whiskey which has served me very, very well when people have said to me, what's your favourite whiskey? It's a thing which I'm suspecting all of us get asked on a vaguely regular basis, and the answer is it changes from moment to moment, day to day, and who I'm with, everything like that. That's not a very good answer when you're at a show or chatting in a shop. So I say Clynelish 14, and that's my.
And he's broke the internet. The internet's went wild for that answer.
Because if you speak to whiskey geeks and you say, "Oh, I like Clynelish. This is a good Clynelish," then I think I've frozen again.
You're good, mate.
Right,
You're good. We've got you.
Yep. Sorry. The joys of technology. Yeah. So people, if you say I like Clynelish, whiskey geeks will go, "Yes, well done. You have chosen wisely." But at the same time, it's a really interesting whiskey, really different style, and it's an introduction to that waxy character that you don't find very much in modern whiskey. And it's also just a whiskey that's really nice. It's a decent price. It's on offer quite often. I buy bottles whenever I see it on offer. You know, Clynelish 14 and the Game of Thrones Clynelish were my two house whiskies and have been for the past decade or so. You know, only the Game of Thrones one because it's cask strength and is on really good offer every now and again. But Clynelish 14, absolute banger of a whiskey, which happy to drink anytime. And also is, as you say, not only an entry point, but it's also an entry point where whiskey geeks generally don't go, that's it. It's very much accepted by everybody to be an interesting thing.
Great choice. Really, really strong, robust choice there. And I'm trying not to use my chat up for Clynelish, but I do know at the moment in the Whiskey Exchange, I clocked that Game of Thrones Clynelish is on. I don't think it's on offer. I think there's just been a wee bit of price drop on it. It's under 50
Yeah,
quid.
I don't think it's on offer at the moment. I keep an eye because we do case discounts and I get a staff discount. So whenever it goes on to discount, I get the discount, staff discount, and case discount. And then me and a couple of folks in the office club together and buy a case to make sure we get an extra 5% off wherever it is. It's a great everyday whiskey, and if you like Clynelish, it's brilliant. But difficult to get hold of, not always on offer, not always great. Clynelish 14, though, always around, and a whiskey that properly, since it appeared, has been showing people a distillery that didn't get love beforehand, and which is not that easy to find that many bottles of these days.
Perfect. And on that note, we're going to move over to Pete.
Well, I mean, I was going to... I'll tell you what I went through, because I started with Clynelish 14. So that could be a bit of a crowd pleaser, and would rightly so, because it's a very, very good whiskey, and it always gets the right conversation. And I think that its texture is the thing that drives it, and it's just wonderful. So good choice. Then I was going to go for a Kilkerran 12 to sort of be Campbelltowny, exciting, and I was like, no, I'm going to go for the Glenglassaugh. I was thinking the double cask is right up there and incredible. And I'm sorry if I'm saying anybody else's, I don't mean to be that guy, but all really, really cool whiskies. But I ended up with my Drammer's Dram, because I think that's one of the most underrated but culty, wonderful whiskies, is a Ben Nevis 10. Right? Because I think it's got that rich oiliness, it's dense, it's a little bit sulfury, it's got that savoury bit coming through into it. It uses kind of odd processes and practices that I really, really like. Flavour-wise, you've got, the fruit coming through. It's a bit earthy, a little bit silagey, perhaps at the back. But then it's got this beautiful texture in the same way that Clynelish does. And I think that those waxy whiskies are kind of where the Drammer's Dram should be in the same sort of, Dalyuen, Clynelish, Ben Nevis, all good stuff. So it's a whiskey that I just really, really enjoy. Whenever I see a cask of Ben Nevis come up, I always try and get it so I can use it in some of our blends. It's an amazing blending malt. I think for a newbie, could be a little bit confusing, a little bit Marmitey. So I was maybe thinking it was a bit out there, but I think that if you're going to build a 4 whiskey profile, then it's right up there. So Ben Nevis 10.
Strong selection, and becoming more available here.
Yeah,
and they've opened. I know the distillery's open now, isn't it, as well for tours and stuff like that.
Is it?
Yeah, it's opened.
Do they still have concrete washbacks?
I don't know. I drove by it. I drove by it on the way back down the other week, and never had the time to swing in. I really wanted to go, but I'd read before, and I'm sure the chat can keep us in check, that they don't have anything exclusive at the distillery, so it is just like the regular bottles that you can pick up in store. Otherwise, I would have definitely just pulled off in there. But strong, very strong choice.
I've been wanting to go and visit for ages. I've been put off by the fact that it's meant to have the saddest distillery tour ever, as you walk around a dilapidated place which makes incredible whiskey, but it doesn't seem to have any investment since the 1970s. Hopefully that's changing. Now they've got big sort of like tourist drag, which basically they're on. We'll see. Hopefully so.
It's literally on the road that you come in to Fort William on to get out to go to Glencoe. So like I thought, I wonder if I'll see it, and then I looked and it was right to the left of me at the road.
I'd love to go. It's such a cool whiskey, but I don't know.
It's a great whiskey.
I've not seen the distillery. I don't even know what the distillery looks like. Big shed, or is it?
It just looks like a tip, as if you're driving by like a glazer's building or something, like not an industrial park, but like just whitewashed, stone pebble dash washed kind
a
of
hidden
building.
gem.
on a main road. So it's just
Aye.
it's quite strange. And I'm sure when we come to the chat, Mac will have a lot to say. I'm sure about Ben Nevis, especially if it's quite well known in Japan, isn't it? Right. So I'm gonna jump onto mine. I thought that I was going to be gazumped there, if I'm honest, Pete. I thought you were going to go where I've went. I've went for somewhere that I visited last year, and again, I was with the little one and my wife, and I could only pop into the distillery shop, and I've forever regretted it. And it's in a very weird named place in Aberdeenshire, which isn't two words, it's one word. And it is, if I reach here, I've went for Glengarioch 12. Or to the newbie, Garioch, the Garioch 12. I just found this, it kind of tickled me in a way that Ben Romack did the first time I had Ben Romack, where it just has there's a meatiness to it, there's a depth to it. And then as I was talking to the woman, the very helpful woman in the shop, she was telling me about the flow malting and how it's going to undergo, I think, in the next couple of years, there's going to be a lot of money behind it, and they're going to rebrand it, and they're going to put a big push behind it. But as I got talking to people after visiting it in Old Meldrum, which is a funny named place, which is one word, it seems to be a sleeper dram amongst drammers. Everybody, it's rare that you say, oh, I like Glengarioch 12, and they go, oh, I'm not into it. They go, oh, I enjoy that. And you'll pick it up, but it's priced for a 12-year-old. It's normally at like £45-50. And I know there are a couple of supermarkets and stuff this week have had it on a sale, and it's kind of flung off the shelves because it's been at like £32. I just think for the quality, and also thinking about a newbie in their journey, you're saying about the Ben Nevis, Pete, about maybe it's a bit much, but they should get to there eventually and really start to appreciate it. And I think Glengarioch has a bit of that. There's a bit of heft to it that makes it a little bit more complicated for some people to get into right away. But then afterwards, it's a dram that you can sit with, or it's a dram you can just enjoy and put back. And I think when you start there and then you get an independent Glengarioch as well, it's fantastic. It's really good. So that was my choice for that one. And we'll go on to last but not least for this round, Mac.
Well, mine's already been done. The Ben Nevis 10, of course, owned by Asahi, who own Nikka, and therefore, thanks for doing my work for me, Pete.
No, really, I'll change mine.
It's
I
okay.
meant to say woven.
I'm actually going to go with the very famous Nikka whiskey from the barrel, also known as, imaginatively, Nikka from the barrel, which is currently around 42 quid at various retailers around the country. And I recently heard David refer to this on one of his videos as Nikka from the Ben Nevis. And so I'm here to correct him in his assumption, because contrary to popular opinion, the majority of the liquid in this bottle does come from Nikka's two distilleries in Japan, which are Yoichi, founded in 1934 in Hokkaido, up in the northern island of Japan, and Miyagi-Kyo, founded in 1969. And it is, in fact, a blend of over 100 different malted grain whiskey components, which are blended together on a batch-by-batch basis, which is why you do get some really interesting batch variation with this, especially if you're comparing bottles across a few years. The Dram was released in 1985. It was actually the work of the son of Masataka Taketsuru, a guy called Takeshi Taketsuru. And he wanted to give drinkers, and this is what I absolutely love about this bottle, this kind of the feeling of being a blender, in the warehouse, sort of sampling from all of these different barrels. And that's why they chose to bottle it at 51.4%. So a lot stronger than your typical 43% that the Suntory core range is at, or even the 45% that the Nikka single malt core range is at, which is actually about 90 British proof. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. It is an enthusiast dram because it's very, very challenging. And it has this like yin yang feel as well, which is fantastic. I will say at this point that doing this with the constraint of trying to pick Japanese whiskies, or at least whiskies from Japan, was quite difficult because, of course, I would love to have chosen some of the more, exotic whiskies like Chichibus or even Canoskes, but your entry point for those is in the hundreds of pounds in this country. So yeah, Nikka from the barrel. Final shout out to Taku Sato, the designer of the fantastic, sort of perfume square bottle that the 500 ml that it's normally sold in Japan and in this country sits in. He wanted to create this image of having a small block of whiskey. There's one thing it's taught me is that there is a reason why, for the vast majority of human history, bottles have had long necks, and this one doesn't. So many of those 500 mils have ended up not, unfortunately, in my glass or in my body at various times. But nonetheless, it's a fantastic dram. Please vote for it.
Fantastic, Mac. Thank you for that, and thanks for correcting me. But we all know that it was Ben Nevis. The voting is open, guys. So please cast your votes. It's quite tight. It's quite tight in the polls at the moment. So we'll have a 5-minute chat about selections. I think you mentioning short necks and long necks on bottles, Mac. Pete knows about the short necks, the woven bottle. Don't you?
I don't know what you're talking about. They pour great.
They pour fantastic.
It's just
the bartender's friend.
Angels pour with every pour.
Pete, I think I can be a quality control manager for you. Test the competence level of the average pourer, i.e. me. So please feel free to send all your output, and I'll let you know the precise length of the neck.
I certainly will. I think I owe you a bottle anyway, and definitely after choosing Ben Nevis, because I didn't submit my answers, so I really apologize for that.
No,
he picked. He was teasing. He was teasing.
Yeah. No. It's a fantastic choice. It really is. I mean, it's quite interesting, the whole thing with the Ben Nevis, because of Nikka's ownership. A lot of people think that a lot of Ben Nevis does end up, in Japan, and it does. But Ben Nevis is now a quality stuff. Has everybody seen the price some of this aged Ben Nevis goes for? Why would they be taking some of the young stuff, which will become the older stuff, and shipping it out there? And so if you read the small print, for example, there's a kind of convenience store bottle, about 20 quid in Japan, 4,000 yen, it's called Nikka Session. And, a lot of people think it's of Yoichi Miyagi and Ben Nevis, but actually it's Yoichi Miyagi or Ben Nevis and a ton of other stuff, which they won't tell you what it is, but clearly is far cheaper for them to source than actually using that Ben Nevis liquid.
So my understanding and just I'm a little bit ignorant with it, but my understanding is that they used a lot of Ben Nevis. But are you saying that they don't now, or that they never did?
No, they still use it in some of these world blends that they create, like Nikka from the barrel or like Nikka Session, probably Nikka tailored as well. But I suspect they use a lot less of it because it's now, the value of Ben Nevis now, actually, compared to when they bought this distillery back in 1989. It's very, very different proposition, right? So they'd be foolish to be stuffing all of these bottles with stuff which will become very valuable liquid.
Right. I think the word is it now or was it then is the important bit, because Nikka are very deliberately reformulating their whiskies at the moment. So Nikka from the barrel, I used to work for the company I worked for, used to have a sister company who distributed Nikka in the UK. So I was in on some of the early discussions when the new rules came in Japan for getting to the boring bit, which I love doing, all about the regulations. I love regulations. So the JASALMA, the Japanese Spirits and Liqueurs Manufacturers Association, agreed to certain rules about what Japanese whiskey would be. And Nikka very, very immediately on that day explained what all their whiskies were, whether they were all Japanese, whether they had Scotch whiskey in there as well, or what. They're totally honest, totally open about it, which they hadn't been for many years beforehand. But anyway, and one of the things they said was they wanted to move Nikka from the barrel to being entirely Japanese. And in a way, I think it'll be a bit of a shame, because Nikka from the barrel is such a great whiskey that brings in some of that stuff from Ben Nevis and all over the other place. You know, the guys at Nikka, they have a lot of blending stock from all over the place. They make a load of other whiskies. You know, they know what they're doing when it comes to having their stock. But I think they're using a lot of less Ben Nevis now to try and move towards Japanese whiskey being Japanese whiskey. But also, as you say, Mac, it's worth a load of money now. You got casks of Ben Nevis 96. You're sitting on a gold mine, and you should give them to me.
Have you ever tried their blended malt from Ben Nevis, McDonald's something else? It's like an 8-year-old, 55% ABV. I had that as my one of the best whiskies that I've tried in ages, and so I was going to pick that as the Dram, and I was like googling it. It was 220 quid, and I was like, fuck, maybe not. But it used to, when I bought it was about 40 quid. So that stuff was excellent. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if it stopped being made or if it.
They
or
did
if
a
I was
whole sort of twiddle of their whole range, and for a bit, I think it was a 12-year-old cask strength they were doing, 10-year-old cask. They did a cask strength, and it was just packed with older whiskey, which they had knocking around, and it was incredible. And it's still pretty good. If you can find it, and I think they've now got rid of it entirely. But there was this whole thing of they went through this period of putting out incredible banging whiskey, including the blended malt, and then they go back to being boring again. And this is the ongoing thing of Ben Nevis. You can find incredible independent bottlings, but the bottlings that do themselves is just not great. It's really annoying.
Yeah.
Guys, it's been quite neck and neck in the polls, and I've just been letting it ride, and it's very tight. Last chance to vote, last 30 seconds to vote. Every time it's whoever talks about something. So I'm just saying, don't forget how good Glengarry is, even if you can't pronounce it.
I think that Glengarry is a great shout, by the way.
Yeah. I wish I thought them.
Yeah, I kind of went, that's a good one, because this is for newbies, and that's a very, very good whiskey if you're getting into whiskey.
I was just shocked. I was shocked by that bottle.
Yeah.
Like, what, by how good it is?
Yeah, just for like a 12-year-old core that they put out, they don't, like, that's why I found it weird this week, they don't discount it. They're happy with the amount they're selling, obviously. They're moving forward. They've got the investment. Who is it actually? It's Japanese that owns it. Is it not Suntory that own them?
It's BMI.
Yeah. And so they're investing. They're investing heavily in it, and they're going to put a big push behind it. And I think because they realise that the quality that comes out of that distillery is really good. And it's been the only bottle that I've only brand distillery where I've went out to auction purposely recently to look for old bottles and try and pick them up cheap, because I'm really intrigued to see what the spirits was and where it's going and that kind of vibe to it. But yeah, I just thought if you went to somebody's house and they're like, oh yeah, I've got a bottle of Glengarry 12 here, I'd fall off my chair. I'd be like, why have you got that? So yeah,
I think 18 months ago, even 2 years ago, that wouldn't have been the conversation. What's happened in that space? Because, like, honestly, and yeah, I mean, sort of through lockdown, I don't care hard about Glengarry at all, and then suddenly since it's become sort of quite a culty whiskey, and you're like, I see why it's really, really enjoyed and well liked.
So before lockdown, we'd hear stuff about it, and it was out there, and they're putting money behind it. They were talking about doing all the stuff with the floor maltings. I went up to visit, and I was shown the floor malting, saying there will be stuff here soon. That was about 10 years ago, and they had this. I can't remember the name of the special release now, but they put out this special. This is the release one in our new range, and I have not heard anything from them ever since. And they've just gone really, really quiet. And I think it's just they've put the investment into the other distilleries and talking about them. But it's a really great distillery with some great whiskey. It's just.
Is that for everyone? think Billy's
I'm
just
hanging on his
looks
last
like-
word.
Yeah, that freeze frame there,
Oh,
it was as
dear.
if you
It
just
happened
saw
again.
the face
Oh,
of God. Talking about
Oh,
Geary.
dear.
Right, one last push, guys, because we've got a tie. The next vote, I'm just going to end the poll as soon as I see somebody else vote. We'll get 52 votes. There's more of these in. Or if somebody wants to change their votes so we don't have a tie break, which will not be settled fairly at all. It would be done over rock, paper, scissors via an internet lag. So we'll see. And Kujo was saying in the chat there, I think it's the IBs that help folk discover the OBs of Glengarry. I think that's probably a fair shout because they weren't the IBs were not expensive that were coming to market for Glengarry, and they've kind of came up a wee bit. But there's something that I think more and more people are happy to try. Right, we are ending the poll, and we had a tie. Starting from at the bottom, we had Nikka from the barrel with 13%. Mac, you still get 13% strong. You're still punching, still going. Just. We had Clynelish 14, 25%, and then we had a tie of Glengarry 12 and Ben Nevis 10 at 30% each. So we'll come back to that tie break at the end, and we'll make
It should be about the lineup of the four.
Yeah, and we can decide where it fits. But both very, very, very strong contenders, and I think you would be happy with either. I think, yeah, Ben Nevis 10 or a Glengarry at a newbie's house in their kitchen, you'd be delighted. I'm going to take a wee break from the actual challenge itself, and I thought we could just have a wee conversation about the general world of whiskey, but on a positive light. Because, and Billy's just went, nope, I'm out.
Nothing positive to say.
I'll get nothing. If you don't get anything, if you get nothing nice to say nothing at all. But as I pour myself, I'm going to pour myself a wee Glenmo here. I just thought it's easy to go doom and gloom. It is a bit easy, and it's been a tough couple of years in the old whiskey industry. But there's a lot of light this year. I think there's been a lot of interesting things, and without leading the conversation, I'd love to know from you guys, like what's shining, and maybe starting from a maker's point of view, Pete. Challenging, without a doubt, I'm sure for you guys, but you guys seem to be doing well in a challenging market.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are challenges in the whole market, definitely. But as a small independent producer, we've seen a lot of really exciting opportunities and things come up, and I think that the big thing that we're sort of forgetting within all this gloom is that people are still drinking, people are still discovering as well, and wanting to find whiskies. But it's become a lot more about I'm not so much about affordability, but about what is reasonable, and I think that there's the reason why I say that in a positive way is that we're seeing really amazing whiskies at under 50 quid again with fresh eyes. For the last 10 years, it's been every single headline has been about the £20,000 this or the £1 million that or whatever it is. But see if you're going into a supermarket and you look at the under £40 mark, you get some outstanding whiskies, and I think that that's a really exciting place to be right now, because you're in line with the gins and the agaves, and you're sitting there going, yeah, this is really positive. And I think that the way that people are drinking whiskies as well is getting really far less traditional and much more towards sort of the highballs and the taking from Japan, right? But we're seeing much more of a highball culture come into the UK now as well. And from a maker's point of view, I guess that there are some big positives from blending in that quite a lot of stock is becoming more available. We were unable to buy quite a lot of whiskies for a long time, and now we're seeing them become a bit more available, or perhaps at a slightly better price, or maybe there's a longer that you're able to lock in maybe 2 or 3 years worth of consistent supply instead of just a one-off batch. And that's really nice because it gives us as Woven, a little guy, the ability to plan and say, well, if we buy this year and this one the next year, then we're able to lay some stock down and maybe do some re-racking and some nice things like that. So it's like, we're kind of sitting here going, this is actually pretty good. Like we're delighted with the market just now.
And I think on that, I pulled up when I was I went to the Croydon Whisky Show, which is a video I've never got around to editing because I wasn't quite happy with how it finished, of me being quite tipsy. But I will get to it. But I tried your Pastures New, which for anybody that's not aware, it's number 20. I've looked up. It's number 22 of the collections. Woven put out collections under Pete's very careful hand, and it was an English blend. And it shocked me how jammy the fruit note on it, the red fruit and the berries, and it exploded and I was just like, I can't remember the name of the woman behind the stand for you guys that day, but she looked at me as if like, what? And I was like so taken aback by this fruit explosion in the glass that you're very good at doing, because I know last year at the Whiskey Fringe you did the halftime orange and that was just pure orange in a glass. But I put myself in the boots of, imagine you're a newbie who comes across something like that, and you're just English whiskey and this and that, and this isn't how it's meant to be. So you guys are in such a unique position that you can pivot, I feel like, in that. I think if we go to Mac, from a Japanese point of view, how's the market over there? Because Japan had that massive downturn, then the stock kind of came down, it's boomed back up, but from an export point of view, the price also went up for us, as you've mentioned already. So how's it looking over there?
Yeah, you want to keep this positive, so we'll focus on the positives and we'll ignore the many potential negatives. But anyway, the positive is that in just over a decade, we've gone from basically around 10 distilleries to now well over 100. There was a period where the National Tax Agency, who basically controls alcohol licensing and everything in Japan, was issuing a new license every week, and it's absolutely crazy. And that's obviously a positive, because we now have this far more buoyant, far more vibrant scene, which is leading to, for example, more innovation, a greater diversity of flavor, and of course now just greater availability of homegrown liquid. And of course that comes with some negatives as well. One of the big negatives at the moment is that these new distilleries who are putting 3-year-old liquid on the market think they're Suntory and are pricing this stuff at, in my opinion, absolutely insane levels. So that's something to look out for. I was hoping that this inflood of new distilleries would actually start to bring pricing down, but unfortunately that's not what we're seeing in Japan. But yeah, the positive is that the market is fairly buoyant over there. The country is suffering with a lot of the global trends as well, though. Young people, etc. The volume of liquid being consumed by young people is in decline. But we're also seeing premiumization as well. So what is being drunk, people are willing to spend more money on it. And I think that's a good thing overall for, continuing to basically encourage the business of creating high quality whiskey.
It's interesting because there is a lot of trends of that. And there was a big research piece, I don't know if you saw it, about Gen Z not drinking anymore and how it's been it's been kiboshed because they asked the wrong question. Yeah. And they took the question and it was about affordability. Basically, Gen Z don't have the money to go out clubbing and partying like we all did in our younger days. Therefore, they do drink less. But if they had the option to drink more, they would. And I think that's something that us in the whiskey world, we know this isn't a price prohibitive drink at the best of times for the good stuff. But Billy, coming at it from you can put maybe a journalistic hat on it, but also from a retailer point of view, what's been positive this year? Because again, we can all be doom and gloom and say sales are down or this and that, but from a positive point of view, has there been anything that's been really upbeat that you've found interesting?
Well, it's a bit of a weird one for me. Oh, by the way, I think I fixed my internet now, so hopefully I shouldn't just disappear or anything like that. But I'm the former computer programmer. I should have this down, but anyway. A bit of a weird one is there's less stuff coming out, which is good. Is the way I put it. One of the things we've seen over the past few years is that everybody just been doing special edition after special edition after special edition. You have your core range, but there's just stuff being thrown out all over the place, and there's short runs, and people buy the short runs and everything like that. But there's not so much of an appetite for that now. People are still buying the special editions. Everybody, especially folks who are going to be listening to this, we're all after the new thing, but people are starting to look at, like you did, David, the Glenmorangie. You're looking at stuff that you like. You're looking at the core ranges, and the distillers are looking at their core ranges and bolstering them. Highland Park, totally rebranded, went back to, did a bit of reformulation and tweaking. Glenmorangie 10 to 12, and also doubling down on their core range and making sure that everything is in the right place there. And we see that across the industry at the moment. People not doing quite so many silly over-the-top sort of releases, but leaning to stuff that's not only for us geeks, because you have to remember, we are a niche of a niche. We are, we're not the mainstream market. And so they spend a lot of time and effort on us to make sure that we're happy and we have nice, tasty things to drink. But that's often at the expense of other things. And they're now focusing on, consolidating, circling the wagons. And so there's a lot of great things out there for us to go and find that we haven't focused on for a while. And the pricing is getting really good on it as well. I bought a load more whiskey this year than I have done in previous years, because pricing on interesting stuff and also on ongoing stuff has been great. I've seen a few things pop up in the chat. So talk about the Thompson Brothers mystery malts.
Yeah, I was just going to pull that up.
Great things. Yeah,
when I was up there, I spoke to Phil Thompson, and like, how's it going? It was the day of the launch of Batch 2. I was up there, and he was like, it's been phenomenal, and the response from the industry back to them for that, because obviously that was their casks and stuff, and they've went and done this and had to go through SWA, the hoops and all that kind of stuff. The brands, the distilleries are now reaching out to them and saying stuff, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn or saying anything that people wouldn't know if they asked them, but they are now going to push it back to the distilleries and say, look, we're not going to pick the barrel. You send us what you want to be the mystery malt for the next batches. And then it's on you. If you send stuff that's not your best, then you send stuff that's not your best. And if you send stuff that's your best, you send, and represent it. But speaking to the guys in the shops, especially the Whisky Exchange and stuff, which would be my local, the mystery malts, and Phil echoed this, have brought people back into shops as well to go and pick up the bottle, and a wee bit of excitement, something that we've not had for a while. Everybody can chase Springbanks and the Macallan hypes and all that during lockdown, but I've got a bottle to my right. It's a great drinker. It's not high proof. It's not challenging. But then on the other side of that, you have Signatory, the 100 range that they've done.
That's the next thing I was going to say. Yep.
And that's another big element of it, where it's like, here's these high proof cask strengths almost, because obviously it's all leveled out at that 100 proof, but that just surpasses anything in that price range. And I know that there's a wee bit of no turmoil in the industry, but there's a wee bit of back and forward between a few IBs about it who weren't too happy, but they had an option. Signatory had the option of, they're sitting on this amazing stock that we've had for years. You can either punt it and get it in the hands of as many drinkers as possible, or we double the price and it sits on a lot of shelves for a while. But again, it gets people buying, it gets them in the habit of spending money on whiskey. Like you said, Billy, times are tough for everybody, but if you're buying more whiskey, it's because all of a sudden it becomes more affordable. And I think that's what people are saying in the chat. They're talking about, Mark had mentioned it in that, 100% drink more IBs because of the good value for money, tired of paying for marketing and whatever. And I think we've seen the great Diageo sell-off of the special releases this year. If they maybe priced them at that price in the first place, they wouldn't be hanging around on shelves. So it's quite interesting.
it's the way people do pricing of things. Is that in the good times you can sit on stock, you can sit on it for ages. You know it'll sell down the line. You know you can put your finger on the scales. You add a couple of extra quid onto it, sort of thing. So you know that somebody will pick it up in a couple of years' time. And you can hold on to it then. Yeah, you don't need money. It's all right. It's all good. And at the moment, everybody's going, oh, no, we need to have cash flow. We need to have turnover. We can't keep stuff on the shelf for so long. And so as we have that going through, you get the IBs are getting more bottles out there. We're seeing more variation there. And stuff like the Century Hundreds are fantastic. And if folks out there have access to them. So after the last vPub I sat in on, I went to work in one of the shops the next day, and I now have a bottle of something from the Century range and one of the mystery malts around the corner, having had, Roddy from Good Spirits Code tell me I had to go and get this Century 100 I hadn't seen. And there's more of that. You go into the shops, and the people in the shops, they don't have so many ridiculous things, but they have lots of different little bits which they can then say, oh, I've tried this, I know this. And so you get, in the shop side of things, it's so much more stuff we can talk about without having to spread ourselves so thin. At the same time, I'm still finding lots of interesting things for everybody, just because strangely there's less stuff but there's more stuff, if you see what I mean. But the big one for me is keep an eye on your core ranges. The prices there are not as bad as people think, and often are really great, and there's some really great whiskies there that people have been neglecting, because there's another ridiculous wine cask finish come out from X distillery, one cask which everybody's fought over, and they've finally got a bottle of it, so they've ignored the fact that there's a load of other great stuff out there. So I'd definitely say to everybody, keep an eye on your OBs.
And James, he's got a hemisphere in the glass for you, Pete, which I've got. You can't even really see behind me because it's so small. But
James Morgan, I love you. Don't know you. You're a good dude.
I've got one of those behind me as well, mate. Like, for you guys, like Woven and what they're doing, I had a young guy in my office come up to me, knowing that I like whiskey and that, and I'd recommended a whiskey for him, but just offhand. He'd had a family party, and they Amazon freshed it, and it was the peachy Woven.
Oh,
They drank, him and his uncles went through that bottle. It was the young lad's Indian. Him and his uncles, so I can imagine the shindig they were having. Smashed through that bottle, smashed through Johnny Walker. Then Amazon freshed as much of the peachy they could get. They could only get 2 bottles of it delivered to them, and then they did that as well. And he was like, they couldn't believe it was whiskey. That was the words they said. And I think that kind of approach to whiskey is fantastic, where they were just like, this tastes like, this is unbelievable. I think we're seeing more people come to market like that.
Do you want to know what is in peachy? It's Glengarry and Glenglassaugh.
It was like it was made for us, Billy. It's a great dram. And I think you have that, like your halftime oranges last year. What is it, predominantly North Highland stuff? Because I was trying to place what that was. Because obviously you get the Glenmo 12, which it just, to me, is citrus on the nose all day.
Aye.
But like that combination and bringing people in and saying, look, whiskey can smell like all these different things with nothing
last
added
year's
to it.
halftime orange.
Yeah. Do you remember when you did it for the Whiskey Fringe?
We're going to have a look. I can't remember what I put in it. I made it for the show, eh? So I think it was just some. I think it was hold on, give me. Well, talk amongst yourselves.
We'll talk amongst yourselves. You do that for me. Adrian saying, positive note is the newer distilleries not pitching on the releases at ridiculous levels. Locklear and Clydeside, for example. And I think we're seeing Glasgow do a great job of that as well. Increasing bottle size, keeping price the same, punting out the whiskey, getting better. I think Clydeside, I've got the video. I don't know if it's in this latest video, but I definitely speak about it. I've got the first release. I had 2 bottles of it. I opened one. Shouldn't have opened it. It wasn't great. But then I visited the distillery recently, and then at the Glasgow Whisky Show last year, I went to the stand, and the quality, the ramp up, just a bit of time, the quality gets better. And I think if we encourage more people, but we did have that wave during the lockdown period and the year after, where so many new distilleries, and you're talking about Japan, Mac, of these new distilleries. We had all these new distilleries popping up. You had Aberfalls and Wales and all that, and you're thinking, okay, these things are going to do good stuff and that, and then the pricing just kicks in. And Aberfalls went the other way. They've became a very cheap brand, which is disappointing. But on the flip side, you had these new brands coming in. Locklear kind of, I don't think they did themselves any favours with the churn of releases they were putting out constantly and stuff. So there was a lot of fatigue from buyers where we felt like we were getting taken advantage of. like buy this, you'll buy that, you'll buy anything put out. And maybe there's been a bit of a correction this year where the drinkers have went, no, we're in charge here because we'll put our money where the quality is. And you're starting to see that push through. And I think that's a challenge that I think when I'm making content and I'm doing stuff, and I'm sure Matt's the same, it's not necessarily the fanciest or the most expensive bottle I want to talk about or do something about. I want to be the geek. I want to deep dive into stuff that we've not tried before, or maybe we've left on a shelf. And I think for you guys, as you're saying, you're now getting access to stocks that previously were held back because people thought they could make more money off it.
And it means that we're actually able to bring our price down as well, which is good. You know, we've always wanted to be a really, really well valued whiskey. But at the beginning, when we were buying single casks at quite high prices, it was very hard to be able to release a whiskey at 50 quid, 60 quid with any margin at all, you know. So now we're in a position where we're able to look at the sort of the 30 to 50 pound bracket, which I think is probably where a lot of the industry needs to be actually, in order to address who's essentially the consumer, right? And so that bracket of 30 to 50 quid is going to be really competitive, and you have to be able to create really, really great whiskies that have a point of difference within there, to be able to because you're absolutely right. You know, a lot of us don't. I mean, not just the sort of the young, but a lot of us don't have as much money as we did to be able to buy 100 quid bottles. So I think that's really, it's a really exciting time as well just now, because we are going to be seeing how that sort of that space within affordability really expands and booms. I think that whiskey has gone through a bit of a dip as it adjusts from being ultra premium to go into really decent at a good price.
I've just put up Alan's comment there that's saying, I think my fave woven I've tried to do is our standard homemade, good stuff. And we were chatting about it on the stream the other night, where someone was having the homemade and said it was good, but they loved the super blend, and I think the super blend is outstanding as well from you guys. And I find it funny seeing the newer bottle sizes as well. I feel like it's like as if like Honey I Shrunk the Kids, but the opposite, where it's just this giant bottle of it, and I look at it and I hold it in my hands, and it feels so. It must have felt alien for you as well, having that bigger bottle in hand.
So yeah, we were in 50 cl bottles. Now we're in 70 cl bottles, which seem huge to us, and then if you put them next to literally any other bottle, they look tiny. But they are 70. It's an odd one, because we were used to being in these, like the whole thing about us was to have these really tactile, beautiful, sort of utilitarian bottles that you want to pick up, you want to hold, and we tried to keep that with the 70 cl. Yeah, when you asked earlier, Port Dundas from 2009, Invigorden from 1997, some Agitator from Sweden, some High Coast from Sweden, and some Fedi distillery from Norway. Wow. Was in the halftime orange last year.
No, none of them. They would never have guessed. It was on the nose for anybody. It was literally just being hit in the face with an orange.
I thought that's what we had to do for a halftime orange. Yeah, like the most whiskey.
And just before we get back into the gamification vibes, guys, I have to ask you, if Lowlander's asking, Pete, when will your next woven studio, open studio in Edinburgh be? Do you plan any plans for that?
I don't know who you are, Lowlander, but if you've been we used to do it every month, and then that became quite a challenge. We used to open up we have a tiny little blending studio, only sort of. I think it's 7 meters by 3 meters, and we used to take out the blending table to give some more room and invite anybody that wanted to come in to be able to try all of the cask samples, all of the blends that haven't worked, all of the stuff that's coming next, all the stuff that we made before. And it was a way to sort of essentially get rid of a lot of cask samples, which is quite useful. But we kind of grew out of that because we did it, and then we'd have people that were a bit disgruntled because we weren't able to do it there. So we moved to some larger spaces, and now we kind of do a sort of a tour of really, really nice sort of adjacent spaces. So we don't tend to do them in bars. We do them sort of in a a warehouse space or a gallery or a really nice sort of jewelers or something that kind of means something to us. And I think Lowlander, we're going to be doing one in September. We're not doing one in the festival because try getting a space in Edinburgh in the festival doesn't happen. So in September we're going to be doing one. And if you ping me an Instagram message, I'm Malted Pete. I'll make sure that we get you along and do something special. Sorry, plugging.
No, absolutely fine. And then I'm going to put this out. I got a super chat from Tim. Tim, thank you so much. He says, got to get up early. We'll grab the rest on catch up. Cheers all. Great chat. Thanks so much, Tim. That's really, really kind. So great wee halftime chat there, guys. We're going to jump back in, remembering that we are now on to the supermarket sipper. And kicking us off is Pete. You're up on this one.
Okay. It was going to be a little whiskey, which I really love, which is their Ben Bracken Islay. I think it's absolutely unreal. And it's 20 quid, literally £21, £22 on the shelf. I was like, that is stupid. However, what I've ended up going for is, and I think if I've ever spoken to anybody before, then this won't come as much surprise, but it's the Cutty Sark Prohibition. Great ABV, one of the best blends, period, full stop, end of sentence. It is absolutely stonking. The balance on it is perfect. It's got the toffee, like dark, rich spice, loads of vanilla coming through. It's got some weight because of that alcohol. I think that if you're in a supermarket and you see Prohibition, like pick it up and buy 2 bottles because it's very, very, very good for what it is, and it's easy, right? I mean, it can be genuinely mixed with pretty much anything. You want it with Diet Coke, nay ice, nay fruit, go for it. You want it with a soda, it's going to taste amazing. You want it just with a bit of ice cold water, perfect. Or you can dram it because it's 50%. It holds up really well. The structure of it is stunning. Not that I'm fanboying, but it's a blend that I wish I knew what was in it because I'd like to, I don't know, steal it. If I'm honest.
No bigger compliment, is there? Really? Great call. I know it's always, I know in the Oswars and stuff, it's always there or thereabouts, the Cutty Sark Prohibition. So yeah. I don't think it's going to be a hard sell for this one. And moving on to mine, I've went for a blend. I wasn't going to go for a blend. I thought, and I've tried to pick bottles that I have here. And one of them was, I was going to do the Singleton 12. And the reason I was going to do Singleton 12 is because it kind of, the price fluctuates, but it's one of those bottles that does it. And it's a really easy drinker. And it's so light and it's nice and you can mix and whatever. But I couldn't find it. I don't know where it's went. I genuinely have no idea where it's went. So I went back to Old Faithful and I went to the one that there's an emotive pull to it, but there's also a little bit of difference in what I've picked a bourbon and sherry cask, the Glengarry. I've picked a bourbon and port cask. I've not picked any smoke. I've not picked anything with anything. And it's, to me, there's no smoke in it, but to a lot of newbies, there is. And so I've went for, and this is an old bottle of it, but I've went for the old classic, the old Black Label, which gets a kick in and people will say, is it as good as it used to be and whatever, but it's, for a lot of people, and like my uncle, I use as a prime example, that the Lidl malts are fantastic. He loves was it the Queen Margot? They used to have the Queen Margot 3-year-old or whatever. Because he was a Black Label drinker, but that price, and Queen Margot 8 as well, yeah, the price was cheaper than the Black Label. To him, a Black Label is a top shelf whiskey. And I think sometimes you forget in our world what people pay for whiskey or pay for alcohol. And I just think I do a series called For Me or No For Me. It's no reviews, but it's just literally my opinion. Is it for me or is it no for me? and I did Black Label. And you see it, because I do it in real time, there's no prep or anything. You see me waver from, nah, it's not, to actually, this has its place. This genuinely has its place. It's at every social club you go to. It's in every bar. It's available everywhere. It's worldwide. It's a McDonald's whiskey. It's a consistency across the world. It introduces people to smoky whiskey. You know, the smoke's tiny. And the legacy of it, it still has enough about it that if, again, you went to somebody's house and they got into whiskey and they were buying Johnny Walker Black Label, they'd be quite happy. They'd be quite happy with it. So that was the thinking behind mine. But as you were saying, the Cutty Sark Prohibition, I'm thinking to myself, there's more meat in the bone for that. But then I'm thinking to myself, but is it for me? You know, it's not.
But it's for newbies, and I think you're probably right. But you could also.
You could step up. Like the Cutty Sark Prohibition isn't prohibitive. It's still a good dram. It's still in the same wheelhouse. There's other blends in that space that aren't supermarket sippers, but are blends that I feel like are just a wee step up, or the next step into that. Maybe like the McLean's Nose or something like that. But I'm getting ahead of myself. But like same wheelhouse, but the next thing and the next thing. And I think sometimes we're guilty of going to that as our default. And that's why I included this category of supermarket sipper. Of if you're anywhere in the world, what can I pick up in a supermarket?
Do you know I tried the other day again for the first time in quite a while? Was a J&B, Just Reading Brooks, yellow label, green bottle. I just thought it was amazing. Quite light, but it's floral. Like it's genuinely floral, and I was like, "Flip, that's nice. That's really, really nice." And that's 20 quid. You know, or 20 quid for a litre in duty free. Done every day. Get that.
Right, we'll move on to the next one. We've got Mac. You're up for this one.
Sure, fantastic. So, my supermarket sipper, again sticking to the Japanese whiskey theme, is Suntory Toki, which Tesco's right now is selling for £37.50. And that's bottled at 43% ABV. It's a kind of junior version of Suntory's flagship Hibiki blended whiskey, which is a blend of whiskies, as is Toki, from the Yamazaki and Hakushu malt whiskey distilleries, and also the Cheetah grain whiskey distillery. Toki, by the way, means time, where Hibiki means echo or resonance. So, you know, Suntory like that kind of time and music theme when they talk about their blends. I think it's fantastic, and it actually ties into Pete's point as well about people enjoying whiskey, you know, in different ways. This is a supermarket sipper. This is something that people should be able to just go and pick up bottle after bottle and come back to again and again. So it works perfect in a Japanese whiskey highball. You get notes of green apple, basil, grapefruit, you know, really light, fresh notes, peppermint, vanilla. You know, it really is. It's a nice dram. I think for perhaps seasoned whiskey drinkers, you know, looking for some sherry bomb or whatever, it's not going to do that. But this is really nice. And the other thing about it, priced at, you know, just under £40 in the UK, and also well priced in the US and other markets, is when the Japanese companies do create something specifically for the export market, they have to make sure that it's competitive, you know, on a supermarket shelf in the UK. And that's where Toki sits. So I rest my case.
Great choice. Really good choice, mate. Really robust as well, because they've just released, I think this is something we can talk about later, off camera, but I think it's Lidl or Aldi have got a Japanese whiskey in stock now. And I've seen the reviews, but I'm like, maybe they're wrong.
It's been Nevis, isn't it?
Yeah, surely it's not went far. It's just went to Germany and back. But great choice. Toki's a great one. And Billy, last but not least.
Thank you very much to both you and Pete for stealing my thunder. So I went for the Ben Bracken Islay that Pete said right at the beginning was the one he was thinking of going for, and which you said was great. Yeah. No, so I don't have a little easily accessible to me, so this is not one that I buy. However, my dad does, and whenever I go out to see him, we sit around of an evening having a dram, talking rubbish. He normally has the Speyside and the Islay because he pops into Lidl, and it's pretty much the only thing, as far as I know, he picks up there. They are ridiculously cheap. I think currently, Pete, it's. I was asking around today because it won't put it on the website because it's different in every shop. But I think down here, south of the border, you're at $17.95 a bottle.
We've got minimum pricing.
Exactly. So it kicks up to like 20 quid a bottle by law. But that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's about as cheap as it comes. And Lidl have done a load of cheap stuff over time. I think Queen Margot was Aldi because I judged both Aldi and Lidl's really cheap blended whiskies 2 years in a row. And each year, the PR departments, PR companies who dealt with them put out things saying it's the best whiskey in the world and it's better than Johnny Walker Black Label, when in each case they had got the same medal as Johnny Walker Black Label in a competition. And in one case, I was listed as being the owner of the whiskey exchange in Die Welt in Germany because of it. So that was fun. But no, but the Ben Bracken, the reason why I chose that one is because to find good quality peat at a reasonable price is difficult. And peaty whiskies do well younger, and so you can find that balance of price due to not being matured so long, but still has that freshness, that zinginess, but has been aged long enough to not be new make spirit. There's a point where you stop being like new spirit. The edges are rounded off. It doesn't have that. I describe it as a crunchy character. It's definitely whiskey. It's smoky. It has that character of whiskey, and it's really great. Ben Bracken, as a sitting around with my dad talking rubbish, having a couple of drams type of whiskies, absolutely perfect. And for 18 quid, it's silly, quite how cheap it is. To the point that I'm fairly certain that who's Lidl's White Mackay, I think White Mackay are probably making, after they pay for the glass and the label, not including shipping or anything like that, they're probably making about £1 a bottle. It's absolutely ridiculous how little money they're spending on that. It's ridiculous. But we do well out of it. And to have a bottle in the back of the cupboard just to pull out, sit around, have a drink, have a chat, don't think about it too much. It's great stuff.
Do you know what it is? I don't. I'm
no,
not I'm not looking for any. I couldn't tell what it was when I tried it, and I still don't know. Yeah.
The only one I found out through the grapevine was a few years ago. I think it was Aldi did a 16-year-old Islay whiskey for no money at all at Christmas, and everybody was saying, "What is it? Is it a Lagavulin 16?" And I wrote an article about it in which I said, "Well, the only thing you can be sure of, it's not Bunahart. Sorry, it's not Bruichladdich. It's not Bunmore, and it's not Ardbeg. Because what sort of idiot would put out Ardbeg 16-year-old for ridiculously no money?" So it was a load of Ardbeg, which White Mackay had a parcel of and had no other projects for. And so sold the whole lot through Aldi for no money. So the Ben Brackens could be almost anything because, it's just whatever they've got a load of stock of. So it's probably going to be young Bunnahabhain or young Clynelish. But who knows these days?
I'm a bit gutted I didn't pick it now. Well, I'm not gutted I didn't pick it because you did, but it's maybe the right choice.
No, I must say the Cutty Sark Prohibition, I've not seen it around on the shelf for ages. I didn't realize it was still available in the supermarket, and now I've seen it is. Unfortunately, I may have to go and buy some because that's good stuff as well.
I think the votes are open, guys. So if you want to get voting, the poll is open. So we'll give it a few minutes for that. I think really solid selection. I think it was quite intriguing to see the way our minds went for the supermarket sipper, because I've saw in the chat, and I'll bring them up. A few people have said like Whiskey Slayers and Cardo Gold or Old Putney or a Smokehead, whatever's on offer, but not the Lafroy Select for my supermarket pick. There is a tendency where there's a question of like some supermarkets have fantastic whiskey select. I think Waitrose down here, really solid selection, and they do yellow labels, which is a discount. And sometimes I picked up the bottle of Nikka I've got from the barrel. I think I paid like £22 for. They do these discount weeks, and you're just like, right, yellow label. And I got some Yamazaki Distillers Reserves for £35 a bottle. So I got 4.
My most ridiculous one on that was I got Glenfiddich Snow Phoenix back in the ancient times. For it's meant to be, according to the label, it's 50 quid a bottle because they're trying to end of line it. But they said, oh no, we're trying to get rid of it, so it's £45 a go. And that was going for the Snow Phoenix, which was already selling for £100+ at auction at that point in time. Go to Waitrose, check the labels. I didn't say that. I work for the Whisky Exchange. You go to the Whisky Exchange, buy everything from us. Also go to Waitrose.
Pete had saying Arbig 10, and I thought, yeah, Arbig 10, but again, sometimes it's too potent for somebody. But if you're a newbie and you love your peat, then Arbig 10, and I think the discounts at the moment you're getting it for like £34, which I think I said it in a video, and I had some comments in the video being like, no, why do you think it should be so cheap? And I'm like, look, they're both same owners. Glenmo 12, is it like that £30 mark now? And it's £29-30, perfect. Arbig 10, let's get them in the door. And then you've got your Ugadals in it that prices have shot up. So a bit of up and down.
I think we all had to go for something around the 25 to 30 quid mark with this one.
Yeah.
Going by everybody's sort of selections for the others to hit under that 200 quid total. So it was an interesting one because obviously in supermarkets, there's a fantastic selection now, and supermarkets, I like just a wee shout out because it's a tough game right now to be a bricks and mortar retailer, even a supermarket. And I don't mean that to like obviously mad love, insane love for all the indies, but as a retailer, a lot of people are buying their booze off of Amazon, Whisky Exchange, Mom, etc. And so the supermarkets are doing a much better job at curating their ranges and selecting really, really interesting stuff at good pricing. So I think it's well worth heading into supermarkets to see what they've got, because sometimes they've got stuff you wouldn't really expect them to, and at a price that's actually really affordable. That Ardbeg 10, I think I saw it in my Tesco's for under 40 quid, I think. Yeah. Can't remember, but yeah, like affordable. Within context of whiskey.
Mac, you coming at it from a Japanese angle, and you picked the Toki, which I think is great. And there was a period as well where the Cheetah was about as well as a single grain, and they were pushing it. And I think they've pulled back a wee bit from supermarkets with it. But from a Scotch or maybe like just a general whiskey point of view, when you come to the UK and you go to the supermarket, is there anything that kind of strikes you as, oh God, that's in Japan, that's more, that's a bargain here. Like I'm going to pick up a bottle of that as just something to have with you while you're in the UK? Oh, hang on.
I think you're on mute.
You're muted. There we go.
I am. There were some police sirens in the background that I didn't want drowning out Billy's wisdom about 10 minutes ago, but I'm back in action. Actually, this is a great point that you've raised, David, because Tokyo, in Japan, tax is a lot lower. I mean, our retailer friends, what is it now? 70% of the bottle is going to customs and excise here.
It depends on your price. It's
rule of thumb about 9 to 10 quid a bottle.
Yeah. Okay.
On duty, and then you got 20% VAT at retail.
But just very quickly on that point, the SWA report every year that something like 70 or 80% of the bottle goes in tax of the average bottle of whiskey. I have a spreadsheet for the average bottle of whiskey, and currently that is basically minimum unit pricing in Scotland level of price of bottle. You're looking at £18-19 bottle of whiskey is the average price bottle of whiskey. So anyway, sorry, it's one of my pet peeves. Sorry, Mac, please.
Good. That's the last time I get any information from the SWA. You're absolutely useless. If you're watching, sort it out, lads and lasses. So, but basically, the same whiskies, are often available in Tokyo for cheaper, actually, David. So, in fact, the only thing that isn't is often Toki, which is actually cheap. Whereas, it's an export-only one, which then kind of gets reverse grey imported. So you can now find it in Japan. So actually, no, there's very little. I wanted to comment on, by the way, the choice of Black Label, which would probably have been my choice if I had gone, worldwide or in the Scotch vein. I flew over to the UK on China Eastern Airlines in their business class, which is very strangely priced about half of all other business classes going from London to Tokyo. And the whiskey that they served in business class was Johnny Walker Black Label. And it made me very happy, especially when I said, yeah, I'll have some. And then they came back with what appeared to be half of the bottle in one glass. So I survived the flight.
That was mad. Like, the myth of, and Pete will attest to this, the myth of Scottish people is that we all drink whiskey. I was a barman for years in Glasgow. I did not touch whiskey. I was not a whiskey drinker. And it was when
Coke.
And they'd look at me for, like, I remember getting a Lagavulin 16, and people will kill me in the chat for this. I remember the first time trying it, and I was like, this tastes like a burnt stick. And I asked my manager, because it had been poured for the wrong person. And so I filled it with Coke and just did a wee smoky cokey with it. But back then, that's sacrilege. But I used to live in South Korea, and I moved to South Korea, and they had, the first time I'd ever seen it, the 3.5 litre on the pivot swing bottle, and they had that at a company party, and the Koreans poured it into like what looked like a dog bowl. They were playing a drinking game with like 200, 300 ml of Johnny Walker, and I'm just like, how can you drink whiskey like that? Like, I couldn't believe it. But for them, it was such a, Black Label was, again, not quite the Blue Label status, but it was seen as a status thing as well, that they could drink so much. And my brothers just came back. He was living in Paraguay. Johnny Walker Black is huge amongst women in South America. Young women love it. It's a status thing. And I think over here, it's just never, I don't know. I don't think we know how to sell Black Label in the UK anymore. I don't know. It's kind of in that hinterland place, and I think it's overlooked. But for me, it's just I call it a McDonald's whiskey, because you know what you're getting anywhere you go, and you order a Black Label. And like you said, on business class, you're happy with a Black Label. You'll sit there quite happily and have a great time.
Good time to get it for the huge Japanese audience watching this is around Father's Day. They sell a bottle with 1 or 2, souvenir highball glasses as well. And you can pick that pack up, like including the glasses, for about 2,000 yen, which is about £10 sterling, which is absolutely incredible. So, yeah. So to answer your question, another thing, sorry, go on, Pete.
No, you Karen, I've got a question that's adjacent.
One thing that I do kind of look out for, inspired by the Kirkland, the Costco whiskies, is some of the bottles that they would sell in, say, a Lidl or an Aldi, because you're just not going to get them in Tokyo. They always, every time I pop into one, they always seem to change, and I never quite know which ones to pick up. So this has been actually very educational, that everybody seems to have some love for a few of these bottles.
I'm just going to put this comment up, guys. This is Karen Crowe came in, and she thinks, I saw a comment earlier saying, is alcohol a hobby? And then, are we in the business? And I just want to address Karen. We are whiskey enthusiasts, makers, writers, creators of it, and hobbyists. So yes, but in the business of whiskey, but also all the alcohol, above. All the above. Like, I just thought I'd address that. But yes, to that point, it's really interesting in that space about, and I'm looking at the poll, and the poll has if anybody wants to do a vote now, it's not going to change the winner, so I'm just going to end the poll now. Cutty Sark Prohibition by a landslide, 43%, followed by Ben Bracken, Islay, followed by Toki, and then Black Label 15%.
Really?
Not a lot.
That's harsh.
I think there's a lot of love for Diageo these days. In that field.
Just in general, Black Label. I did during lockdown. I did a podcast about desert island drams, and my desert island dram was Johnny Walker Black Label, because it's the whiskey that you can drink. You know exactly what you're getting, and it's lovely every time. For years, the standard, whiskey industry folks were flying transatlantically, they come around. BA and Virgin Atlantic both come around and say, "What would you like to drink?" And everybody would always. The standard order was, "I'll have a Johnny Walker Black Label, please, and also a bottle of red wine, a can of beer, and also a Bloody Mary, just to keep me going for the moment." But the Johnny Walker Black Label was traditionally the first thing you asked for before you did your ridiculous order of stuff from the trolley. And it's not just Diageo; it's across the whole industry. It's just always been this default whiskey we have knocking around. Yeah, unfortunately, as you say, I don't think we know how to talk about it anymore. Red Label is the thing that everybody who isn't a whiskey drinker drinks. That's whiskey and Coke drink, whiskey and ginger, Black Label, unfortunately, sits between these two stools of not being quite geeky enough for the geeks, but being too geeky for the non-geeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going through the chat at the moment. We've got Mark Watt saying, how many of us are now going to go and buy Cutty Prohibition now? I'm going to have to go and buy a bottle, to be honest. I keep putting it
I'm in a
off.
little WhatsApp chat at the moment as well, and there's at least one person in the WhatsApp going to go buy a bottle of Cutty Prohibition now as well, so well done.
There you go.
It's a good whiskey.
See, if I was any good at this, we'd have affiliate links and all that going in the chat, but there's none of that. Maybe we'll do it on the catch-up. But it is a great whiskey. I'm just looking through the chat for people. Some people asked about double black versus Johnny Walker Black. I did that as well, and my opinion on the double black is I would rather try and find a bottle of Clynelish for like a proper in that wheelhouse for the money. And I think there was that period where the Clynelish pricing was going up, and it feels like it's coming back down again. To answer that question, we'll go on to the final round. I didn't give the final scores there. Oh, I did. Yep. We'll go on to the final round, which is the wild card, the weird and the wonderful. Now, this is going to be a good one for everybody, and I get to kick it off this time. There was so many places that we could go with this one, because it's a wild card, it's weird and wonderful. But I went somewhere with the whiskey that at the whiskey show last year, I'd missed the year before. I'd been told to go. And we're standing in the vPub this evening. I'm doing a guest shift for Roy, and Roy was singing its praises. And I obviously ignored it. And then he had guests on, and they were singing its praises. And then I went to the whiskey show, and I met some of those guests who work in whiskey, and they were saying, go and try it. And I never. So last year I went, and I made a point of it. It was the second, I went to Chichibu first, and then I went to this stand, and having came from tasting, in my opinion, the best Chichibu I ever had, which was the latest On the Way. I loved it. And I can see Mac nodding his head. I tried this, and I was like, can I believe I've not done that? I've wasted a year. And it was the Indri Drew Cask Strength Bourbon Cask. Indian whiskey. It is bottled at 57.2%. If you look at that colour on it, that's a bourbon cask. That's pure bourbon, and it tastes, in my opinion, it's like a bourbon whiskey. It's a bourbon scotch. It's weird as hell. And it just, I couldn't, when I tried it, and then they had some other ones of the limited releases and that, and I tried them, and I was just like, I embarrassed myself because I said that they had one of the main guys there, and I said, can I shake your hand? Like, I was so uncomfortable in the moment. I was just like, I can't believe how good that is. And I felt such shame that I hadn't got there sooner. In a year, I hadn't tried it, and it made all the sense. And at that stage, I don't know if it was I think it was a Cask Strength. It was Julie Hamilton from Decadent Drink who said to me, she went, you need to go. And I was like, yeah, you'd say that because you've run the vPub and you were telling Roy, and Roy loves it and whatever. And I was like, don't want to go with the crowd. And I made a huge mistake. It's fantastic. It's 70, it depends where you get it, 65 to 80, 90 pound, depending on deals and whatever. I got extremely lucky. My whiskey group that I'm part of got me that as the Secret Santa. That was my Secret Santa bottle, and I was over the moon. But yeah, just, it's bourbon oak, hand selected, 57.2, natural colour, non-chill filtered. It's just a banger. And yeah, I've had Indian whiskey before, I've had Paul Johns and stuff. This is just night and day quality level. And that is my weird and wonderful, because I think for a newbie, the idea of an Indian whiskey would be quite foreign to them. Mac, you're up next.
Great. Well, for this category, the weird and wonderful, I've decided to actually break away from my Japan theme because indeed we need to go weird and wonderful. And the whiskey I've picked is Stauning Bastard.
Yes.
Have you had it?
It's great. It's fantastic. Love it. It's a good show.
It's a brilliant one. I can see the votes coming in now. This is an absolutely fantastic whiskey. So what's going on? It spent 3 years in virgin American oak and then finished for 6 months in mezcal casks, actually from Oro de Oaxaca. And what that does is it just gives this incredible, you do get those notes of agave, but also kind of dried lime, this real freshness, but also like a bit of tobacco. It's a yin yang, wonderfully complex, wonderfully diverse dram that I think is absolutely incredible. And if you haven't tried it, it's currently retailing in the UK for around £60 plus or minus. So you should all jump online and order one right now. I've met Alex, the co-founder of Stauning. He's an amazing guy. And I personally think that those guys are doing fantastic work out in Denmark. So yeah, a bit of a Danish whiskey to finish off my Japan-themed selections.
Great shout. Fantastic shout there. Billy, you're up next.
That's a difficult pair to follow. Anyway, I'm going for the weird and wonderful and going more towards Mac's side of the world. I've chosen the wonders of Kiwon Unicorn, which may mean nothing to many people out there. So Kiwon are the first distillery in South Korea to release a whiskey. I think is probably the best way of putting it. There's a couple of distilleries doing stuff, but it's a ridiculous distillery run by a guy called Brian Doe, who has had a number of careers. He's an American Korean guy who's done everything from being a game show host on Korean telly to being a Microsoft executive in Korea, with a little stint of running a brewery and a bar in between. He now makes whiskey. He hooked up with a guy whose name I've just forgotten, very annoyingly, who's a fairly legendary Scottish distiller. He's done a load of work in Japan over the years, and then also a bunch of Korean folks who he works in the distillery with. The distillery is called Three Societies. You'll understand why I'm going for the whole thing now. The three societies are the US, the Korea, and Scotland, and they've got 3 whiskies named after the national animals. So we have the eagle for the US, we have the tiger for Korea, and we have the unicorn, of course, Scotland's national animal. So Kiwon Unicorn is their edition, which is a hint towards Scottish whiskey styles. And so the American one's got a load of bourbon cask and new oak in it. The Korean one's got a bit of mixture of sherry and other bits in there. And this one is all about a peated cask. And so it's bringing in peated casks to add a smoky element to Kiwon's whiskey. To be honest, so one of the reasons I've had a chance to try this is because I met Brian over in Japan at a whiskey conference a couple of years back. Same conference I met Mac at. He was like really trying to push and do interesting things. The first whiskey they did in the EU was exclusive to the Whiskey Exchange when it launched, and it was new oak, and it was too much. And I wasn't sure about the distillery. It was a distillery which I thought had a lot of potential. The guys behind it are great, but this whiskey we got was just swamped. You just taste new oak. These 3 really show off what the distillery's doing, and you can taste the spirit character. You can taste what they're doing, how they're playing with it. And of the 3 of them, the unicorn is the one where actually my sample was tainted. I had 2 other samples, road tasting notes from them. My unicorn sample was terrible. But I've managed to source more since then. And I also tried it blind in a competition I discovered afterwards. And it's great. It's got a gentle smokiness to it. And I, David, you were saying you tried it and you got a load more, almost like Lefroy vibes off it, which is good because
like
it's
quarter cask.
A Lefroy cask.
Yeah.
It's a Lefroy cask they matured it in, almost certainly. That's where all the smoky casks normally come from. And so it's got this fruitiness to it. It's got this sort of nice smoky sort of integration in there, but it's also different. It's a Korean whiskey. There's only 2 distilleries really producing them. And it's very, very difficult to get hold of the stuff from the other guy, Kim Chang-soo, which is also great, but almost none of it around, apart from the whiskeyexchange.com. But the key one is really a distillery to keep an eye on. Lots of cool stuff happening, lots of cool stuff to happen in the future. And the Unicorn for me is a great place where it's bringing together distilling traditions from around the world explicitly and saying we are doing this. We are bringing stuff together from around the world. Sorry,
it was going to be. I said to Billy when he sent it over, I said that was very close to being my pick because I was going to buy a bottle of it, but no. And then I think Pete's pressed the wrong button just as it's coming. I don't know if he's tapping out and then running about trying to find some weirder whiskey than what he's got, but we'll keep talking on that. I'm looking at the chat. The chat's been great all night, guys. Thanks so much for contributing. Blank Fen saying Stauning Bastards is great stuff. Fantastic stuff. What else is there? He was saying, is it flow malted and direct fired, I believe. Someone said the Nectarosity blends are good. Absolutely. Texas whiskey. Still asking cask strength. Brilliant. Now we're hitting up to, I'm just going to go through the chat. Here's a question for you, Billy. Can I ask about the Maker's Mark
I just saw
pick?
that. Which Maker's Mark pick?
I'm going to presume the latest one, the London
we
one
haven't
that's
done a
came out,
Maker's Mark
maybe?
pick ever, as far as I remember, but I
There was
could
a
be
London-
mistaken. I have
there
been
was a
there for
London-
13 years and released a lot of whiskies. So
There's a London one that's just came out. I don't think it's a pick, but it's just became available
it's
at the
nothing
Whisky
to do with the
Exchange.
Whisky Exchange, I'm afraid. So no, I haven't even seen it. We get 200 new products a week. Unfortunately, I don't get a chance to find out everything about all of them, I'm afraid. So, but no, jumping on the other whiskey so briefly, as soon as you said Indri, I was hoping you were going to say Drew because I don't like the rest of their range, but the Drew is excellent. There are some, if you look into the company's got some vague issues around some of the people involved, but if you ignore that, if you look at the core of it, the guy making the whiskey, it's Surinder Kumar, who used to work for Amrit, and it's the guy who put Amrit on the map, and he was poached to go to Indri and put Indri on the map. And the Drew, for me, is the purest expression of his abilities making great whiskey. It's a great one. Much as I would, obviously you should vote for the key one, Unicorn, because it's obviously best. But the Indri Drew, they did a peated PX cask for Diwali. And there's a big sort of everybody saying, "Oh, that's the best thing they've done." To which my answer was, "No. The Drew shows off the spirit more. It's not just a big blast and over the top flavor. Really lovely and balanced, and big fan of it. The Stauning Bastard is also excellent. I like everything they do from Stauning. So it always has to be someone like drop some of those in. And I didn't think of it myself. So yeah, they're a good bunch over there. And they make some really interesting things.
I mean, all of us in the industry, as we've established earlier, we're lucky. We get to taste a lot of different drams, right? And what I've found, it's the ones that stick in the head. So just a bit of behind the scenes. I had originally decided to go full Japanese, to paraphrase the song, and all four. And the weird and wonderful, I won't say what it is because the guys will get upset that it didn't make the cut. And I showed that to David, and David said, no, the weird and wonderful can be anything. And I thought it would be quite good to do something a bit different, because it's just one of those drams that you have it and it just immediately stuck in my mind as being fantastic. And that was around the time that we had that wave of like mezcal cask finishes. Remember, I think Lagavulin did one with one of the Fessial bottles, I think. And there were a couple of, a few that were circulating around.
Whisky Exchange is both a tequila and a mezcal cask, so I'm sorry, we're part of the problem.
Yeah, well, and good. And me buying them is part of the solution, so we're all good.
It's
but
a
yeah,
cask
they were
variation.
fantastic, and it's great, and you could almost see the whole thing, right? With Diageo, going, okay, we're going to get these, we're going to get these casks in, and they meet the whatever SWA regulations, and it was all good. Sorry,
Alan,
David,
thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much, Alan, who's one of my normal viewers as well. So I appreciate you being here, mate, and I appreciate the super chat. It's very, very kind, and I appreciate you guys appreciating this evening. I'm not sure what's happened with Pete, but he did say he might have to jump off at some point. There's some stuff going on, so maybe that's happened. I don't know if it's that or tech. But we'll carry on. I'll do the poll. I don't know because Pete never shared what his drams will be. So this is, I don't know what his weird and wonderful is. And if there's some, no offense to the other two guests, but if there's somebody that's going to pull something weird and wonderful out the hat, it is Pete.
Yep.
And so if he doesn't come back on, I will make sure we update it. I'll put it on Instagram and stuff, what his weird and wonderful pick is. But it doesn't mean he gets the points, even if it's the best. So I'm going to, let's see, can I start this poll? Will it let me? I'm just going to put a wee X there. Start the poll for this. But I think some really strong and robust choices amongst us from 3 world whiskies, without a doubt. All quite different, but all bringing something to the table that we really enjoy. And I think that's the standout of that weird and wonderful. I'd considered doing, for me, which has been probably the most fun bottle, and I don't think I can class it as a whiskey, but it was the North Star Campbelltown Soup chocolate liqueur, which I completely misread the label when I tried it visiting Glasgow, and I was in the Good Spirits Company at like 11 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, and I read the label and I thought it was like 50% whiskey, 50% chocolate liqueur together at last. And we tried it and it tasted like profiterole sauce. That was the only way I could describe it. Like this rich, luxurious, dark chocolate sauce. And I bought a bottle. It was like 20 odd quid. Great. It's got the Campbell soup style logo, label and stuff. And then I opened it and drank it and I was like, it's great, drinks so easy. And then I read the label again and it's 50%. It's Campbelltown whiskey with a bit of liqueur in it. So it was dangerous, but I thought, no, that's not, it doesn't fall in the guidelines of a whiskey, so I won't do that. Held, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Really appreciate you coming. Adrian as well, tapping out at this stage. We'll still have time for the quiz. If people want to do the quiz, let me know in the chat. And if not, we'll call it in once we get the results and stuff in. But it's been a great evening so far, guys. Obviously we're not finished yet. As the votes going, let's see how many votes we've had. We've had 24 votes. Come on, guys, we can get that up. We can get more votes in there. Absolutely, we've been averaging 40.
Vote for the Korean whiskey. Vote Korean.
And I think if it's looking at it, if it stays the way it's staying, it's going to be quite a nice split of winners this evening.
Yeah,
it's good to see the Koreans making some good liquid as well. I mean, we've now got China as well. I sampled some Chinese whiskey when I was in Shanghai last week, and the Koreans, and then of course Japan, and I mean it's absolutely incredible, and it's good. It's good to have these whiskey cultures, emerging out of certain countries, and then encompassing the regions that they're in as well, and influencing each other. It's absolutely fantastic. Taiwan, of course, with Kavalan and other distilleries there. Oh, he's come to try to steal it at the death. He's returned.
Like I'm gonna. Are you ready, mate? It was on you. It was your turn there, and there's a lot riding on you because we know that if there's somebody bringing weird and wonderful to the table,
I'm pretty sure that somebody sabotaged the internet here. I don't know what's happened. I've just been onto the Facebook group for the village, and apparently the whole village, the BT Wi-Fi has dropped out.
How have you managed? What have you done? Have you flung the wee one on the roof, holding an aerial?
I think it's my neighbours uses EE, so I've managed to log into theirs through sort of my. I don't know. I don't know what I've done. Anyway. Hi.
Well,
sorry.
Look, we're gonna put you front and center, and we're gonna have to do the poll again. We're gonna end that poll, and we'll do the poll again.
Sorry,
so
guys.
Please, the floor is yours.
Right, weird and wonderful. I went through a bit of a journey on this one because I think that I really enjoy odd, wonderful, amazing whiskies that kind of scream something different, and I started out with a whiskey that I love so much, which is Thompson Manuka, which is based in Auckland and uses Manuka wood to smoke their barley. I didn't go with that in the end because I wanted to go with something that was maybe a bit more. We're thinking about the newbie here, so I went from that to France to a distillery called Moon Harbour that uses seaweed to smoke its barley. That I thought was really cool, really interesting, very saline, not too fishy, and I thought really yummy. I went to a few different places, but I ended up in America actually because I really love corn whiskey right now. I think corn whiskey is incredible. Mellow corn being sort of the OG and just a great whiskey for its price. Wonderful. I think that there's awesome Canadian corn, really banana-y, very, very yummy. South African corn as well. But I ended up going with the Balcones Baby Blue, which is uses 100% blue corn, which is slightly more oily, bit more viscous, bit more creamy. It's quite a young whiskey, so you get a lot of that spirit character through, but it obviously being in quite hot climate in Texas, it gets a bunch of that really nice wood coming in. I think the marriage is really great. So you get buttered popcorn, cornbread with the oak influence coming through with the weight and the depth. Just really, really great. And I think that why it's weird and wonderful for a newbie is that I think that is the best flex to say, American whiskey, and they say, yeah, Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, and you go, no, this is American whiskey. That's a cool flex. So that's why I picked it as my weird and wonderful, because it's not
currently on clearance at Ocado and Amazon price matched for £24 a bottle, which is unbelievable. £24 for Baby Blue. So if you can get an Ocado delivery, guys, it's reduced from £47 to £24 currently.
I think it's being discontinued in the UK. So if you want any Balcones products, get them now before they disappear, and you have to do some serious looking to find them.
Pete, EE connection. Kevin Bacon's trying to sabotage him. It turns out I thought he was just so taken aback by that price that he froze. But we've got the poll up. We've got him going. Very different poll this time. There's a lot of neck and neck going on. So he's came in with. We had Mac. Was it you were fly, mate? I thought you had it, and now he's came in. But you're picking up the pace. The pace is coming up. People are coming in. You're back.
If I drop the village out, everybody knows that the United Kingdom has the best infrastructure of any country in the world. Oh no, sorry. What am I talking about?
Just you deserted for Japan 20 years ago. We're keeping an eye on you. Don't worry.
His weird and wonderful was going to be Johnny Walker Red, and then he's like, "Oh, I got something to beat the Stauning bastard," and he's gone and looked up, something made with fucking pink corn or whatever. Just absolutely. I mean, this is disgraceful.
On that note,
Max trying to push it now. I see you've seen a victory in the future, so work it.
It's very clear. It's very clear from the last check's notes, coming up to 2.5 hours, that I'm here for a long time. I'm not here for a good time. Okay, so, which is unfortunately, a reverse.
A quick thing, just that question that Dave just dropped up at the bottom. I spoke to some reps about it a little while back because I asked for a bottle of the Balcones single malt for a tasting. So I was doing a tasting about American single malt, and Balcones single malt is one of the best in a certain category within single malts in my brain. And I was told they weren't going to be pouring it at festivals because it was just not going to be so available in the UK, if available at all. They're having to they don't have loads of stock, so they're trying to work out where to go. So it's not going to be quite so available over here as far as I know. That could have changed. It was earlier on this year.
Is it the pot still bourbon? That is on offer at Ocado for £30 a bottle.
This is the reason why I think it's Ocado. slash Waitrose, the reason why they put those things in ridiculous prices is because they're end of lining them. So it fits in with that. So if you want to get Balcones stuff, seriously, stock up now. There's some really good stuff in there. Unfortunately, Pete, I disagree with you on the Baby Blue. It's my least favorite thing they've ever made, apart from Brimstone, which I absolutely despise. But it's the thing.
I just think corn whiskey is like, people need to get into it because it's the future.
Thoroughly agreed.
100%. And I think that the Baby Blue is weird, it's wacky, it's interesting. I was going to go for Beans from South Africa.
That's a great whiskey. I think it's so quaffable. Like, you just pour it and you're like, this is just sweetness in the glass.
Interesting. I like the Baby Blue. I think it's really interesting. I think that's because it's that blue corn. Don't know what that does. It doesn't look blue. The whiskey's still whiskey coloured, which is good. But it tastes, really interesting. I liked it. I really did. That's the first whiskey that you and I have disagreed on ever.
I know, pretty much, yeah. I say on the Texas corn whiskey, if you get a chance to try Iron Root Republic, their stuff, the Licorice Brothers, their whiskey, they're called the Licorice Brothers. That's the best name ever. But they make some really, really good corn whiskeys. They make good bourbon and stuff as well, and play around with casks. But their corn whiskey, it was the one which Berry Brothers picked up as the Texas Embassy whiskey a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And they are very much guys at the front of the trying to make corn whiskey, not just the bottom shelf mellow corn swilling whiskey, no longer the Georgia Moon with peaches in, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I'd like to try that. Do you know what? I need to go on a lovely trip to Texas for a bit and just immerse myself in Texan whiskey.
You do like to go to just amazing places, Pete, and just indulge in the whiskey and then come back and then mix it up and
try and make a whiskey.
Like your Nordic adventures and picking the summer to go as well.
I'm working on one right now, which I'll tell you about at a later date. It's very exciting.
I've got Black Fence.
If you ever need if you need like a note taker, I'm very, very good at writing notes and sitting in the back of a car. I don't have to drive, so I can't help with that. But if you need someone on a road trip around Texas just being ballast in a car, just let me know. I'm there for you.
Well, the one I'm working on is not Texas, I can tell you that. But it's going to be a cool region-specific whiskey. It's going to be very, very fun. And hopefully give a good red thread of how one country makes their whiskey. Should be fun.
So Mark's asked, loves corn whiskey. Could you give examples of other ones you like? But before you do, just hold that thought. The poll is in. We have a freeway tie for last place. We all got 9. Balcones, Key One, and Indri all got 19%. But storming into the lead with 42% of the vote was the Stauning Bastard. There you go. I feel like everybody's got a win. Is that how it's landed? I know there was a tie.
I think so.
But I feel like everybody's had a bottle. So we've got Stauning Bastard. We have, I'm going up all the way up through the chat. We had Stauning Bastard. We had Prohibition. Cut us up Prohibition.
Yeah.
We had the tie with the Ben Nevis and the Glengarry. So I'm just going to say Glengarry so that I get one. And then we had Billy's. And Billy, yours was the Glenglassaugh at the start. So
yep.
Quite a robust lineup for a newbie.
What's the pricing on, if you added up the pricing of all of those? Does that combined lineup come to 200? So the Stauning is around 60 quid.
Right, so let's see, 60 for that.
Yeah.
The Cutty Sark is 26.
I had it at 28 because it's 50%.
We'll call it 28. The Glenglassaugh is what, Billy? It's
£54.50 at thewhiskeyexchange.com.
54, and then I'm going off of Glengarry at 45. So we are. I think
we're in.
I need to do my.
We're safe.
99, 159, 179, 188 pound, 87, 187. Enough to buy yourself 6 cans and have a great party. Well done, guys.
That's it.
Excellent
I
work.
will. I will post it and make it look official, and we can put a wee line up and we can share it on our socials. But guys, that I think we've done well. I think if we went round to someone's house and they had that collection of whiskey, we'd be more than happy.
Oh yeah.
We'd be happy. Newbies would be happy. Everyone would be happy.
Yeah, and they would all have new hobbies. So, going back to Mark Watt's comment there, love corn whiskey. Could you give it other examples of ones you like? So, I'm going to defer this. Mac, I don't know how you are with the corn whiskey in Japan. My corn whiskey experience is like mellow corn, and I've got a bottle of Thompson Brothers Canadian corn, and that's
Yeah.
it. That's my full knowledge of it. But you guys, what would you recommend?
Honestly, Baines is really, really good and good value. It's from South Africa, so you got hot climate maturation in it. And then I think that if I was to pick sort of the best sipping corn whiskey, I'd go for Sam Simmons boutique corn. I think it's 8 years old in sherry octaves, and it takes the wood unbelievably well, and it's just stunning. So yeah, those two really good. The baby blue from Balcones, even though Billy doesn't like it, so maybe I don't like it now because I just want to agree with you. And I tried a Mexican corn whiskey from, and I can't remember the name now. Just
Have a solo.
Thank you. Yeah, Abasolo, which I thought was really fun, just really nice and lively. But I think drinking wise, mellow corn, and then you're going to be the cool hipster cult dude. Baines, if you want to try something a bit more tropical in corn, and then best sipping would be the boutique whiskey. I think it's a Core Expression, but it's like their Canadian corn, 8 years old, sherry octaves. Yummy.
Yeah, so I can't stray too far from what you just said, Pete. You know, the Sam stuff that he's doing with boutique on the Canadian whiskey front, he's found a rich seam. And so anything he does with Canadian whiskey, most of it's just corn whiskey, and it's really, really good stuff. The guys Cannon Heads, so Mark would probably be able to tell you more about that than I could. They've done in the past a load of Potters, they called it. I don't know which distillery it was, but some really good old corn whiskey from Canada. My big one that I always recommend to everybody is, as I said before, Iron Root Republic. Yeah, really, really good whiskey in general. But they do some fantastic corn whiskey, trying to push corn whiskey into that premium, where mellow corn is, you know, one of the more premium sort of brands we see over here, and corn whiskey can be so much more. And folks like Iron Root and a lot of other folks in the US who we just don't see over here, they're the, you know, really look for the small distillers over in the US who are doing fun things.
Yeah.
Right, guys, I'm going to try and get this quiz up. Are you willing to stay, or if you want to go, you can go? I know it's late.
If my internet allows it.
Right, I'm going to let's see, software. Let's see if we can pull this off. Right, I'm going to press this button, and if everything breaks, I apologize. There we go. Can everyone see that? And then if I do, that's the first question. If I make this, there's a way to do this. I believe it's. Oh God, I'm going to shut. There we go. We did it. I've lost you guys a wee bit. Let me move it over. There we go. So guys, I can't see the chat, so I'm going to have to put it up on my phone. We have Menno was very kind. The legend it is, he was going to host this, but because of difficulties with the software that I use versus what Roy and that use, it's quite difficult to get someone else to come on and drive and share their screen and that. But it is a traditional quiz at the end. As I said earlier, I have not seen any of this. I've not went through it. There could be some AI deepfake pictures in this of all of us. So if there is, I apologise. But we'll see. We'll see if he's been kind to us. The usual rules apply. Put in the chat your answers and put in the chat your score. So question number 1, if this works. There we go. Which distillery recently announced that they're adding a ruby port cash finish as a new core range expression? I know I always feel smug when I know this answer before the answers come up. Is it A, Glenfiddich? Is it B, Glasgow 1770? Or is it C, Lafroig? Which distillery recently announced that they are adding a ruby port cask finish as a new core range expression? Guess, is there anyone that wants to shout out what they think the answer is?
I put
You're not
mine in the
muted.
chat.
I'm like, don't do that to me. I'm like, are you muted?
I'm not on mute. I just didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does everybody know? Oh, and I'm.
Well, for me, it was more a case of, if it's two of them, then I lose all my respect for those two distilleries, and I respect them both quite a lot. If it's the other one, they're allowed to do that because they're a fun distillery who does fun things. So I'm hoping.
I'm looking at.
So
I've got the chat.
I'm
chat
thinking.
Here.
I don't think. I think I would have heard if Glenfiddich have done it. Lafroig, I think. I know that you don't like port, Billy. I like port, so boo to you. But I think Lafroig and that red fruit would go quite nicely, but I can't see them doing it as a core. Glasgow 17. It's got to be Glasgow just by elimination, right?
Correct. And the chat, everybody in the chat on it knew right away it's B. It's B. The ruby ports became a new core expression, and the Glasgow stuff at the moment is it's definitely stepped up a level. I don't know if anybody's tried any of the
cast types a lot more, and their spirit works really well with quite sort of like extreme cast stuff, I find. And so yeah, fair play to them. There was a Lafroig care from port casks which I didn't get on with, but I still drank it. Yeah, there are rules.
Vin of No Nonsense Whiskey fame did a PX one, and it's phenomenal.
I was about to say that. I'm going to say it anyway. Vin from No Nonsense Whiskey did an absolutely phenomenal bottling with them recently.
Just like the liquid, and it's young. It was a young. I had it beside me. I actually do have it here, and it's this was an 80 bottle, 60.1%, 5 years old, and the spirit is so robust and is really maturing in such a way.
They're doing a great job. I'm really happy for them.
So well, and I think it's one of those. It's almost like football. If you're a football fan, sometimes you just got to give players a bit of time to bed in and get used to the pace and get up to speed. And I feel like Glasgow Distillery's done that. They've now found that they're in their groove. They're putting out great stuff. So we've got the famous. You can't see it from my face, but I'm going to move myself here. It's a banana skin.
Hey.
So, banana skin question. Another brand new series of vintage whiskies is coming from Tormore. While we wait for a core range, which is said to be planned for 2026, this vintage series is released under which name?
Billy, do you know this one?
Yes. So if I get this wrong, I'm in. Oh, I don't know it. Oh shit! I'm in trouble now.
Is it A, the vintage series, B, the legacy series, or C, the single cask series? Beautiful distillery, like on that drive into Speyside, through Speyside. Stunning distillery, and I was listening to a podcast recently, and they've had quite a lot of intruders. People try to sneak into the distillery, and Billy, you would know this, wouldn't you? Surely you know. Surely you should know this.
I literally had the press release, and Ollie Chilton, who's put them together, is really good mate of mine, and I've discussed the name of this series with him on a number of occasions. I have entirely forgotten what it is, though.
I like the shade that Menno cast in the question. That was quite good. While we wait for a core range, here's yet another series of vintage whiskey.
It's their second one.
I'm just looking at the question, and it says this vintage series is released under which name, right? So I don't think it can't be, or it can be A, or it can't be A. Have they named it in the title? I don't think they would have in the question.
Welcome to the world of the banana skin question.
I can see that, by the way, for the guys that are watching, I can see the chat, Lowlander, and so I'm not going to bite on your football chat, so don't worry about that. And Menno's in the chat as well. This is why it's a banana skin, Pete. This is the infamous banana skin questions.
Right. Well, I've got a question for you, Billy. Have they released a series of single casks?
Yes, I think they're single casks, these ones.
Oh shit!
But
Right.
the press release was really, really vague, and I need to have a proper chat with Ollie about it. So,
Right, are we calling it? What are we saying, Pete? I'm using you as the barometer.
That's the one he doesn't have a fucking clue.
I know nothing either, so it's
Right. I don't think the single cask series rolls off the tongue, although I'd have to see it written down. I'm sure it is if it is. I don't think it's vintage series because they use that in the question twice. Okay, now I do think that it is. I think it's the vintage series because they use it so many times in the question. Although legacy series sounds better. Oh, okay.
should have kept the
Got it right.
marketing hat on. You were going for the marketing logic for a while there, and then you let the heart rule the head.
Yeah.
And you went for vintage. You doubled down. The answer, of course, is B, the legacy series, because of course I knew that. Of course I did. Next question. Thompson Brothers have recently had a double home run with their second series of their mystery malts. Which of these distilleries featured in both the first and the second series of releases? Was it A, Clynelish? Was it B, Dornoch? Or was it C, Kalila? This is quite a tricky question. I feel I'm comfortable. I think I know what this one is. I think
I
chat
think
will
I know what it probably is. Although I don't know. But I know that they have. It could be all three. Easily. But I don't think
Mac?
they've done.
Any calls?
I think it was. You want me to say what I think the answer is?
Yeah,
Even though
yeah.
people are guessing. Well, we're all guessing for this one. I'm trying to think because I studied the first series that came out. I actually got some bottles sent to Tokyo. Simon's a big fan of Kanpai Planet, by the way, and so he sort of keeps me updated with the amazing work that they do. Were there two Dornoch? Well, there's a Dornoch in Series 2 as well, which I didn't take a look at all because I was too busy. Was there a Dornoch in Series 1? Okay, I'm going to go with C, Kalila.
So the chat's divided between B and C. I'm saying here.
I'd say A.
And A, Clynelish. I'm gonna say B. I can't see what the answers are. Only because I'm pretty sure there was two Dornochs in it.
I'm with you on that. I think
It
it's
was
fairly
all of
special.
them.
All three. Yeah, that's what I thought.
It was all of them. So
I was right in the right. Well, this
So I'm fairly certain that when I looked through the list, I was wishing for either the Clynelish or the Dornoch both times, and the Kalila the second time.
I've got the Clynelish right here, the 9-year-old Clynelish of batch 2, and it is fantastic. I was wishing for the Ben Rinnes 27, and you will see in the video that I'm editing of my American mate. We're at the Craigellachie Bridge opening them, and he fucking played me like a fiddle, and he goes, "What does 27 mean?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, and he got a Clynelish as well. So we both got a bottle of Clynelish to take. He took one back to LA. But great, they're such a great series, such a great concept. It's put a bit of fun back into whiskey. But yeah, well done everybody that got that. So freebie, absolute freebie. Question 4. After closing temporarily in 1996, Ardbeg was used for what purpose?
Ooh.
That's
I'm hoping for some comedy answers here from Menno.
Yeah, I was hoping as well, but
bleach
warehousing thousands of Lafroig casks. A B&B, I had to read that twice there to understand what that said, but a bed and breakfast, or training new staff working for Hiram Walker Allied Lines Distilleries.
There was an
There's two of
esteemed
those.
whiskey writer in the room. That'd be good.
What did you say there? Sorry, Pete?
If there was an esteemed whiskey writer in the room, it'd be great to tap into.
Yeah, somebody that would know about legacy and history and stuff like that, especially for like such a giant brand of the whiskey industry. Surely it's an obvious answer, Billy.
Oh, as I said, there's two of them. It could be. Not cheating, I promise. Not within easy reach on my floor in my pile of books I read. There's a couple of them. I reckon A and C both fit in there, but C's an interesting one because they sent staff over from Lefroy during the closure to keep the stills running, to make sure that nothing seized up, make sure the distillery didn't shut down and need to be totally reconditioned before reopening. So they hope to reopen it one day. It's just whether it's always said they sent them over from Lefroy. Did they send them over from Lefroy, or was it actually training for staff? So
I'm seeing a few A's in the chat. A few people saying A, the warehousing, thousands of Lefroy casks. And then a lot of people are, I don't know if they're following each other, but they're saying C. So no one's saying a B&B. No one thinks it was a bed and breakfast. So what are we saying?
I'll say it's a B.
B&B from Pete.
It will be the one person who's right. The one person who's right will be Pete.
And the answer is, it was warehousing thousands of Lefroy casks.
Sorry, people.
Tough question. Like, Menno doesn't mess about with these questions, does he? At all. He knows what he's doing.
But this is the glorious thing, is the fact that they did literally send staff up there. But is that thing of, is it training or is it just literally just keep the thing running? They had loads of Lefroy casks there. They did a release of like a split double pack release of 2 half bottles of a Lefroy 10 cask strength, I think it was, and like an Ardbeg 10 as well. I know Colin Dunn had one because he opened it up, allowed us to try the Lefroy and said, "You're not touching this Ardbeg," and ran away with it. But yeah, so they did a load of stuff together during that time.
Same island, different question. Where on Islay are we? I've never been, so I wouldn't know that view.
Well, you can see the paps, can't you? I think I know.
I'm going to click here. Is it A, Kalila? Is it B, Brute Laddie? Or is it C, Bowmore?
Yeah.
Now, Pete Head in the chat is saying it's Kalila. Glen in the chat, bar220, he's saying it's C. Pete Head saying A, Kalila. He's now came back A. Yep. A lot of A's in the chat. It seems the general consensus is this is Kalila. What are we saying?
Pete Head is such a legend that even if it's not Kalila, it is now Kalila. I think it's become that. It's like if he says that's where it is, then it's good.
I met Pete Head Frank in Glasgow last year for the first time, and he introduced himself. He appeared to me at the bar, and I'm not going to lie, I didn't know who he was, and I got a little bit frightened because it's been a long time since a man quite. I'm 5'9", but he's a big strapping man, and his shadow just cast over me before I saw him, and I'm like, oh. But couldn't meet a nicer gent, and anybody that's had the time in his company in person knows that. But he's adverse to anything grape based. No grape based whiskey for him. But yes, he's saying A. So are we going to see? It is of course Kalila.
Yes,
everybody's favourite.
In the chat, Pete had also said, Bowmore and Brooklady can only wish to have that view. Bowmore and Brooklady have a view of each other. So yeah.
Such a stellar distillery. It's such a funny one. I remember getting into whiskey and not knowing anything about Kalila, and trying Kalila, and it's so foreign. And then you're kind of overwhelmed by the amount of IB Kalila at one point, and then it pulled back a little bit. But it's an old faithful of a Dram, isn't it? I think we can all agree. Question 6. Glenfiddich is available pretty much everywhere in the world. Everywhere except where? Where can you not get Glenfiddich? A. The Republic of Mongolia. B. Every British embassy and consulate. Or C. Any of the hotels and resorts owned by Donald Trump. It's a tough one. I'm not sure myself on this one at all.
Who knows that answer?
Menno.
This is the annoying thing about this is the fact that I remember hearing something about this once, but have no idea what the answer is because
Right.
I can't remember.
Donald Trump owns Turnberry, which is next to Girvan, right?
But I don't think the staff would be like, we're banning Glenfiddich. We've got an issue with them.
It's if like a member of the Grant family said, "I don't like Donald Trump."
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that'll be stripped from the shelves.
I don't know anything about Mongolia, and why would it not be in, why would it not be in any British embassy or consulate? Have they said something about?
Maybe Diageo bought the listing.
This I can see in the chat, and this isn't a banana skin question either. This is just a core question, and I'm looking.
I think you can figure it out.
Embassy.
But I actually know the story. But it's typical of. Can we talk about it?
I think is it B. I was thinking it was B because of maybe they've just banned booze, because maybe
are we revealing it?
Some people were
consulates
enjoying
not
themselves.
banned booze.
It's C.
It's C. It's
So-
Trump.
I think the story is that he wanted to buy the land next to one of the golf courses. It was owned by Michael Forbes. Michael Forbes had won a Top Scot award, and I think he'd beaten the tennis player Murray. He'd beaten Andy Murray. Anyway, that's irrelevant. That award was sponsored by Glenfiddich, and therefore he was like, okay, screw that. We're banning their products everywhere.
Wow. Like, it's
So-
not a...
That whiskey company sponsored the award that the guy who owned the land that he wanted to buy next door to him won, and therefore answer is C.
And Menno in the chat saying that's exactly correct. That's exactly
Yeah.
the reason why. Yeah, wow. Like, it's not... No, it's not a stretch at all, because he is a petty person, isn't he? So, of course... But wow.
That is a level of pettiness, though. That is some fourth order pettiness.
There's a lot of, like, aspiration in that. I'm not going to lie. Like, imagine you could... Oh, wow. Question 7. Here's one right up your street, Mac. And I'm going. Can you pronounce the distillery for me before I butcher it? I just want to do it the right way.
Yoichi.
The Yoichi distillery. I say it like a Cockney auction. Yoichi Distillery in Japan is set up to create a wide variety of distillates with various peated levels, yeast strains, fermentation and distillation times, and methods and maturation types. In theory, Yoichi could create how many different types of malt whiskey? Pete, you know this off the hat, don't you? Like you make whiskey. Is it?
I'm struggling to understand the question. So they've got loads of different setups that they can use. How many would be the multiple of all them put together?
How many different types of malt whiskey could they make? Is it 300? Is it 1,000? Or is it 3,000? For someone that should absolutely have this answer, like a fag behind the ear that they just pull out and just
How
like,
many
enjoy.
can Loch Lomond do?
soon as you have like more than 2 stills, and you have more than 2 barley types, and you have more than 2 types of yeast, at that point in time, you start doing multiples and multiples and multiples and multiples. So it could be any of them almost, just depending on how many bits of starting condition Menno's rolled in.
I'd say it's probably the top one, like 3,000. Because if you think about even just like, if you have a few different types of still, and then
So if you go to Yamazaki and see what they've got there, they've got loads of still. Although I think we've lost Pete again.
Yeah, Pete's just shocked. He must have looked at the chat. Pete had said, I thought 3 would be an applicable answer, so he's going to go for A. And then Jeffrey Bangers said a bazillion, which I quite enjoyed. And then Whiskey with Molly, Jesus Christ, Menno, which I quite enjoyed that answer of just this sort of question.
I've got to say, I'm very impressed with Menno, as always. What a legend. Because I've never seen an official number anywhere. So,
and it's sourced. There's somewhere that this number's been found.
He's either sourced it, or he's understood the exact number of different yeasts that they use, including 901, the non-foaming sake yeast that they use for the Nikka discovery in 2022, and then he's just punched some numbers. Either way, it adds this veneer of the man, the myth, the Menno.
Exactly. So what we're saying, are we calling it group consensus? Mac, you make the call.
I'm gonna say, 3,000 sounds like a big number, but I'm gonna go with C.
Yeah, agreed.
There we go. It was C. 3,000.
And it's all driven by, and we can discuss this at length because it's definitely not late. It's all driven actually by the fact that Suntory and Nikka, for 99 of the first 100 years of Japanese whiskey history, hated each other, and so they didn't swap stocks to create blends, and therefore you had to make 3,000 different distillates to attempt to have variety in your blending. Amazing,
I find
right?
it mad. It's so cool. I'd love to visit.
Well, if you get a chance to go to Yamazaki, which is nice and easy to get to as well, definitely do, because they have every single still there is different in a really silly way. I still need to get to Yoichi or up to any of the Nikka distilleries. But yeah, just Yamazaki on its own, walking through their still house, you go, but none of these are the same thing. Okay.
Question 8. Which now closed and demolished distillery, established in 1897 and demolished in 1996, used to operate under other names such as Montrose and Hillside? Was it Colburn, Cornvlamore, or Glenesk?
I know this one, so I'll be quiet.
I'm based on elimination, I'm going to go for B, because Cornvlamore. I had the chance to go to J&B, the actual shop, and had this amazing tasting with the guys there. It was great. And I had a birth year 1984 Cornvlamore. So that's the only reason I'm picking B. That's it. Anyone else? Pete? Colburn, Glenesk? What is Montrose and House? I have no idea. Closed and demolished. And Menno saying in the chat, okay, this is geeky, I admit. And then I've seen Billy's answer in there, and so I'm going to double down and say B.
I couldn't possibly comment on having spent many years writing descriptions for every bottle of whiskey that came into the Whiskey Exchange under whatever name they came in as. I also have in my wonderful Google Drive a public spreadsheet of every alias for every distillery under the sun, including all their new makes. Yeah, so I vaguely know some of these. I really hope I'm right.
Do you want to call it out? On you go, call out the answer.
Yeah, C.
There you go. Glenesk.
Well done.
Am I pronouncing it right? Glenesk, or is it pronounced some weird way? Glenesk?
It's a silent Q, mate, and 4 R's.
Perfect, typical.
It's not Ireland. It's easy.
You say that, trust me. Scotland's a very confusing place at the best of times. Which of these 21st century distilleries has the biggest capacity? Inchdarney, Falkirk, the Borders. This is one. This is a geek. Yeah, again, this is another geekery question here.
No, but I like this question. This is good.
It's a good question, but it's we're all kind of. I don't know about you. I'm seeing press shots in my head, like anything I've seen online. I'm trying to figure it out and work it. Capacity.
Yeah, I've been to one of them.
One of them did the special release and priced it ridiculously, and yet still sold out, but burnt a lot of goodwill. I do remember that. So I don't know if capacity is the highest if they were doing that.
So mine's a pretty much pure guess. So, and it's not for one I've been to.
Chat's going.
I think it's got to be Inchdarney's doing quite a lot. I think.
Yeah, but their stills aren't that big though.
Do they not have grain stills as well though?
No, that's the thing. They've got their Lomond Hill still, which is definitely not a Lomond still, which has basically got a short column on top of the pot.
Right.
But that's just short column on top of a pot. It's still a batch, so it's not onto a full column. Whereas Falkirk, I know nothing about, and I'm fairly sure the Borders at one point in time was going to be a grain distillery or a bulk.
Is Falkirk not the one that tried to sell their first barrel for £1 million?
Yeah.
Yes.
Love you guys. Don't know you, but good job.
Yeah, they sold a lot of the bottles very expensively as well on that first release. A lot of PR and burnt a lot of goodwill because people were just like, nah, not cool.
I think
the chat seems to think a lot of people are leaning towards A in the chat.
Yeah.
I think I've said C, but
correct.
I think they're right.
It's A. Yeah,
It was A. Inchdarney.
it's A. The other two, quite small.
Oh,
There we go.
it's the ass hat question. Everybody, be prepared.
What does that mean?
It means it's an absolute bastard. Just before the Excise Act 1823, how many legal Highland distilleries were registered in Scotland?
In 1823, well, wouldn't
1823, not 1822, because obviously there was that shift.
Yeah.
1823, how many legal Highland distilleries were registered in Scotland? Was it about as many as there are Speyside distilleries today?
God.
About as many as there are Lowland distilleries today? Or about as many as there are Glen distilleries today?
He's gone from the myth, the menno.
I've just got to applaud that because that is an absolute asshat question. And
he was the man, the myth, the menno. Now he's the man, the myth, the... We'll be seeing him next Tuesday.
so I'll read it one more time for anyone listening. Just before the Excise Act of 1823, how many legal Highland distilleries were registered in Scotland? A, about as many as there are Speyside distilleries today. B, about as many as there are Lowland distilleries today. Or C, about as many as there are Glen distilleries today. And I'm enjoying Ted Brooks' message of, oh, come on, question mark, exclamation marks. Jeffrey Bangers is out with about a bazillion.
I like Pete Head saying, including now closed, as if he's sort of just like, oh yeah, you know, there's that carry the 6 and then add the 2 that reopened.
Do you guys all have the YouTube bit open or something?
I've got it on my phone. I can see the chat.
Comments. All right.
It's because of the way that the software works, I've had to open it there. But it's
Right, that's my guessing.
Menno's confirmed that you can exclude the closed distilleries. Petehead, it's just the active distilleries. Billy's going C. A lot of consensus. Mark Watt, Lowlander, where's Roy? They're all saying B.
I mean, it's just.
I'm going to.
B would be the lowest, right? Out of these three numbers, is B like there's not like B's. I don't know. That's a mad question. Who would know that?
I'm going to take it from a wording point of view. Excise Act is taxation. So how could distilleries be legal before there was tax? Because surely that would make them legal.
This is the thing. People always say that 1823, before then, there weren't legal distilleries. There were. It was just under a different legal framework. And
right.
Exactly. But it's the myth is there were no legal distilleries before then. It was all just guys hiding in, near the River Spey, hiding in stills up trees and stuff. But no, there was a whole thing going on before then.
What are we saying? Mac? A, B, or C? Just a complete guess.
What am I going to say? A, B, or C? I mean, I'm busy debating because, they may still have been registered even though they had technically closed down. And I'm just trying to get into the mind of Menno to try to figure out, the...
So, Pete, what you say?
I reckon low. I reckon B.
I think B as well, because I think it's going to be a low-ish number, but there's going to be some that were legal because they were made legal by like some royal charter or like decree by somebody. But then obviously in 1823 there was a huge influx in 1824 with McCann and XYZ. I obviously know my history, good at that. B.
And Billy's went for B as well, I believe. Is that right?
I went for C.
C. I was going to go for C because there's not that many Glens. Surely not. Let's see. It's A. We're all wrong. Yay. At least we all lost. It's 57. 57. Obviously. So everybody in the chat, put your numbers in. Who got the 10? I'd be amazed if anyone actually.
Where's Mark? Where's Mr. What did he get?
I saw that he was tracking at 9 out of 9 apparently at one point. So we'll see how that goes.
So that last question wasn't that surprising, because it's George IV, the big state visit when he went around, with all the tartan and stuff and drank whiskey and everything. That was 1822. So that's the year before the legal invention of whiskey.
Right. So there was.
Yeah. I read all that in a very interesting and useful book, available now from the philosophyofwhiskey.com. Anyway.
Pull up. Let's see. We've got.
That's all my plugging done now. There we go.
Lowlander gets 7. Matt got 9 out of 10. We've got Desi 9 out of 10. Lackland 7 out of 10. Glen Bartu to 0. He's got 8 out of 10. Ted 9. Fernando face orange bacon.
I wonder if it was the last one that a lot of people got wrong. I think it probably would be.
You think you're doing well.
Whiskey with Molly's going head to head. No Menno is wrong on that question. There was only 8 legal whiskey distilleries. And then Jeffrey Banger's Menno. Mark finished on 9 out of 10. So there you go. But Jeffrey's happy because he got a pass mark. But yeah, guys, I think fantastic quiz, Menno. I really appreciate you making that for us on this step in vPub this evening. Want to thank the guys. Thank you so much. If you guys will hang off when we come off and we can have a wee chat afterwards. But thank you so much for your time, your chat. I think we'll go round and do a wee plug for everybody. We'll start below me. Billy, if you want to plug, do anything. I can see a very handsome book behind you that I had. And I found 20 quid in when I took it on the train that I'd put in it. It was not only a great read, but also bought me some beers.
It's also a very, very thin book. So for those people who don't have much patience, you can get through it in about 1 cigar, I've been told. A medium, not really short one or a really long one. But no, yeah, so So I work at the Whisky Exchange. If you want to read stuff I've written, go to thewhiskeyexchange.com. There's a link up in the top right corner saying inspiration. There's loads of guides to drinks there, and I've written some of those bits. Otherwise, you can find all my links to things at billyabbott.co.uk. 2 B's, 2 T's. Other than that, I sit on the internet and complain about stuff quite a lot.
Don't we all? I know what it's for. Over to you, Mac.
Sure. You can find all of my Japan drinks content under the username Kanpai Planet. That's spelled with an N, so Kanpai Planet, the world of Japan's drinks. And you can find me on YouTube, which is where I'd love you to subscribe if you're not already there. Although I've received such great support over the last 4 years from the vPub community. So thank you for that. And then Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and the usual platforms. And I also run a Japan travel business called Maction Planet. So if you're ever heading out there, then please get in touch. We'd be happy to help.
Fantastic. And to you, Pete, you got anything to plug?
Yep. So Woven Whiskey, WOVEN. We get the best margin if you go to the website. But you can also buy us on Whisky Exchange, which is very good, and in your local retailer. And if you can't, then you should tell them that you'd like to buy it. That'd be great. Look, we're pretty small, independent whiskey makers trying to do something quite fun in a pretty competitive space. So any support is like genuinely really appreciated, and we'll try to continue making some nice stuff.
No, very true words. The stuff's great. I'm biased because I really enjoy it. And then lastly, me, I am David at Drinks Whiskey. This is my channel that you're watching me on. Please do like, subscribe, do all the usual stuff. I try and approach whiskey from an angle that I think I would enjoy watching, which is just out and about, doing a bit of a laugh. Don't really do reviews because I think palates are so subjective. So I just try and say what I think about it. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. All the vPub regular, the barflies coming over. Been a pleasure to have you. Been a pleasure to sit in the seat. Appreciate Roy asking me to do it. And yeah, thank you so much. And hopefully you've enjoyed it. And with that, we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.